Chapter 221, The Competition Ends. The final circle of the Battle Royale collapsed into a messy, savage battlefield. As the poison field kept shrinking, every team was drawn into the center. On that cramped stage, spirit abilities flashed in every direction. Weaker contestants vanished almost instantly. Ye Lingling of Heaven Dew Royal Academy, relatively weak, but the crucial healer of her team, was singled out and eliminated early, despite March 7th's desperate protection. The carnage was brutal and spectacular. Long Aoqian of the Body Sect, Qian Renshui of Spirit Hall, and Hu Liena and Shi Yu, who had unleashed their spirit fusion, fought like warriors nearing Spirit Saint level, dominating the blaze of combat. Compared with the Body Sect and Spirit Hall, respectively backed by Lu Ying and Xia Dai, the alliance led by Jin Shi and Gu Yu had numbers on its side but lagged in raw power. Lu Ying, Xia Dai, and their allies kept each other in check, unwilling to recklessly attack the teams their rivals had marked. Still, as the fight intensified, Shrek Academy was the first major casualty. One by one, Nan Chuchu, Shu Tianzhen, Shui Binger, Huo Wu, and others dropped out. With teammates pinned down and unable to help, Jin Shi and Guyu had no choice but to withdraw. Lu Ying and Xia Dai exchanged a single, knowing glance and reached the same conclusion. Robin and March 7th had to go. Those two excelled at support and defense. Even after enduring bombardments from spirit tools, Wang Chuer and the others had held on, thanks to their protection. "This is dishonorable," March 7th cried, shocked as Lu Ying and Xia Di cut off her escape. The Body Sect and Spirit Hall worked with grim efficiency, pressing Wang Chuer's team. Even with Robin amplifying their abilities, Wang Chuer's group was exhausted after repeated battles and the assault of a level 7 spirit tool. Under the combined pressure, Robin and March 7th were suppressed. St. Freya Academy's second team was eliminated. Robin sighed, oddly resigned. She had understood Lu Jingming's purpose in arranging the Battle Royale all along. He did not intend for St. Freya Academy to simply take the championship. If he and his inner circle had participated directly, the result would have been a foregone conclusion. The 100,000-year Spirit Bone and the 100,000-year Saint Grade Mark were not meant for them personally, but were pieces in his larger world tree plan. Lu Ying had therefore misplayed this time. Her moves had steered things towards Spirit Hall, which was exactly what Lu Jingming wanted. After knocking out Robin, March 7th, Wang Chuer and the others, Lu Ying unleashed her 6th spirit ability, Supernova Kick, aiming to finish the job and wipe out Spirit Hall. By then, the final circle had contracted to only a few dozen meters. No one could dodge Lu Ying's meteor-like strike. They could only brace for the blast. A crushing fiery shockwave swept the cramped arena and swallowed everything in a blistering explosion. Lu Ying even instructed Long Aoqian to edge the outer ring so he'd survive to secure the Body Sect's victory. Her targets were Qian Renshui, Hu Liena, and the other Spirit Hall fighters. When the smoke cleared, Lu Ying's plan unraveled. Long Aoqian survived, his immortal golden body and the Paragon golden body shield holding against the inferno. More unexpectedly, everyone from Spirit Hall was unhurt. A faint purple chi clung to Qian Renshui and the others. Strange Yu Dai, mottled spectral butterflies, fluttered around them. Lu Ying stared, baffled. Watching from outside the arena, Lu Jingming only shook his head with a hint of wry satisfaction. Xia Dai, though she seemed unassuming, possessed an almost heaven-defying ability. She could render one teammate immune to death. Quiet and modest by nature, she neither flaunted nor spoke of it, and few had encountered it in ordinary life. Only Xia Di and Lu Jingming truly knew the power existed. Lu Ying had miscalculated. Her plan to cleanse the field had inadvertently handed the championship to Spirit Hall. The end came swiftly. Long Aoqian, who had survived Lu Ying's meteor for a moment, was overwhelmed when Qian Renshui teamed with Hu Liena and the transformed Shi, now a demoness through spirit fusion. Together, they killed Long Aoqian. The first battle royale in the simulated universe ended with Spirit Hall triumphant. Lu Jingming was pleased. He had wanted Spirit Hall to win from the start because that outcome maximized the value of the 100,000-year Spirit Bone and the 100,000-year Saint Grade Mark. It was impossible for both artifacts to go to Bibi Dong, and under her circumstances, she would take the Spirit Bone. The Saint Grade Mark would pass to Qian Renshui. With the spirit bone, Bibi Dong could push her Rakshasa god trial forward, accelerating her path toward divinity and giving her enough strength to deal with the rising corruption points, effectively performing the cleanup work Lu Jingming needed. Qian Renshui refining the Saint grade mark would make her stronger too. With the corruption threat pressing, Qian Daoliu would likely force Qian Renshui into an early god trial and thus bring the angel god into being. Two newly minted divinities on the field, even just recently ascended, might be enough to restrain the corruption points before they spiraled out of control. Lu Jingming's goal was to shepherd the planet's evolution, not to let the corruption points annihilate the world. If he truly wanted destruction, he could have simply unleashed unfiltered Honkai energy. The cocoon of finality he'd created was no trivial stunt. Materializing it would cost as much true energy as summoning a Herrscher, but his plan relied on subtler manipulations. He intended to make the Battle Royale an annual event, a way to raise the planet's overall strength and expand the simulated universe's influence. As that simulated realm drew more attention and allowed more ordinary people to enter it, Lu Jingming's leverage and benefits would grow. Eventually, prizes like the 100,000-year spirit bone would seem minor compared to what he could gain. When the dust settled, he smiled at the slightly disappointed Lu Ying and the dejected March 7th. "It's all right. It's only one competition. I'll grant each of you one wish. Xia Dai can have two." "Really?" March 7th brightened instantly, her dimmed eyes lighting up. Lu Ying looked at him with surprise too. Lu Jingming nodded, then turned to Xia Dai for confirmation. After all, she was the winner. Xia Di only shook her head gently. More wishes than she'd expected left her quietly pleased. "Awesome, Xia Dai. You're amazing." March 7th squealed and lunged to hug her. Lu Jingming reacted in the same instant, seizing March 7th's collar and yanking her back. Had the hug gone through, March 7th might have suffered grievous harm from Xia Di's unusual physique, even if she didn't die. Pulled away, March 7th stuck out her tongue and glared at Lu Jingming in mock annoyance, then gave him a grateful look. The thought of nearly experiencing death was enough to dampen anyone's enthusiasm. "When you decide on your wishes, come find me," Lu Jingming said, then stepped out of the simulated universe. Robin, watching him fade, turned to March 7th and Lu Ying. "We should head back too." "Definitely. I can't wait for Ah Ming to grant my wish," March 7th replied, already turning over possibilities in her head. Robin and Lu Ying exchanged a small, knowing smile and said nothing. To them, March 7th posed no real threat. Lu Jingming left the simulation and went straight to Herda, awakening the Great Lord Rukadavada and Raiden Makoto as he went. After the experiments in the parallel world, he felt the World Tree plan was still rough around the edges, far too many variables. He had not expected the planetary will itself to take action, actively gathering a vast amount of negative energy. That surge had intensified the corruption points beyond his estimates and thrown immense pressure onto the Spirit Master's world. He intended to modify the plan, and fast. Chapter 222, Holy Grail War. The World Tree project in the parallel world had developed far beyond Lu Jingming's expectations. It had even forced him to call Elysia in as a backup. Because of how dangerous the situation had become, he decided to host the Jedi Survival Competition, a move that would indirectly help the Spirit Hall by encouraging stronger individuals to emerge and deal with the mess. Black Chiwan, Black Kevin, Black Oser, and Haiyuan City were all terrifyingly powerful. The Spirit Master's world in the parallel universe had no easy way to cope. Corruption points were spreading relentlessly, affecting countless commoners and even killing Spirit Masters. Lu Jingming never fancied himself a saint. Though he had put some compensatory measures in place, they were unilateral decisions based on his own judgment. He hadn't consulted those affected and didn't intend to. In his mind, the strong were naturally meant to dominate the weak. That was the whole point of striving to be stronger, to avoid being controlled and to live at ease. He agreed with the villain savior logic. Peace of mind for oneself justified harsh actions. Still, he wasn't entirely hard-hearted. The parallel worlds experiment had shown him how quickly things could spiral out of control, and he didn't want that to happen here. If he simply replicated the parallel world's plan, planting a world tree, linking it to planetary will, and using memory-driven ley lines to gather the planet's negative energy. The corruption points generated would be unimaginably powerful. Douluo Continent, 10,000 years on, had accumulated far more negative energy than its parallel counterpart. Evil soul masters had run rampant, nobles had oppressed commoners for millennia, and a decade of resentment had built into something frightening. If those resentments were funneled into the world tree, they could condense into catastrophes straight out of Lu Jingming's memories. Antimatter legions, cosmic locust plagues, abominations of abundance. Black Chi Yuan and Black Kevin had come from his memories. The world tree's link to his recollections was dangerous. So in this world, he had to be careful. He still believed he could handle whatever arose. He had Jingliu and Herda, after all. But avoidable risks should be minimized. This time, he planned to unify the Douluo Continent and become an emperor, to rule legitimately and care for his future subjects, rather than repeat the crude mistakes of the parallel world. He discussed a new approach with Herda, the great merciful Tree King, and Lady Jen. His willingness to alter the plan softened the great merciful Tree King's and Lady Jen's gazes toward him. Herda understood him best. He mainly didn't want the experiment to get out of his control. There was some genuine concern for the common people, but only Lu Jingming himself knew how much. "So what's the plan?" Herda asked, cool and intrigued. She loved hard problems. They were interesting. Easy solutions bored her. Lu Jingming explained, the corruption points in the parallel world couldn't be controlled because they had no reasoning, only destructive, murderous instinct driven by negative emotions. What if we made replicas born from those corruption points that retain some memory and intelligence? Not real memories, but impressions drawn from my recollections. You mean, Herda's interest sharpened, use my memories as a realm record medium, create a holy grail that can purify corruption points, select masters, and summon servants condensed from negative energy. The servants fight, those defeated are purified and absorbed by the grail, their power fed back to the planet. The ultimate winning master receives a god position condensed by the grail, a first-class god position, the sea god position. Lu Jingming smiled, amused and a little sly. Exactly. Naughty idea, isn't it? Lady Jen's reaction was immediate. Lu Jingming was clearly targeting sea god Tang San. Creating a sea god position would split the sea god's faith and cut Tang San's influence on the Douluo Continent. Herda had already set pieces in the god realm to bind Tang San, making it harder for him to watch over the continent. Once everything was settled, Tang San would be seriously affected. This is win-win, Lu Jingming went on. It optimizes the plan, reduces innocent deaths, condenses a god position to strengthen the Douluo Continent, and hits Tang San where it matters. The planet's negative energy was hard to harness, but with the world tree stigma and Herda's intellect, they could use it to create god positions. Lu Jingming's original plan to condense a god-king position for the god of eternity and lightning remained possible, and this method even made an extra first-class sea god position attainable. There was another advantage. The summoned negative energy memory forms would be recorded by the world and thereby gain a degree of existence. Future summons of the original beings would consume far less true power. As an example, summoning a peak condition Yellow Springs directly would normally cost 100 million true power. If a version of Yellow Springs had already been summoned from Lu Jingming's memory and recorded by the universe, even if incomplete and only a memory echo, that record would lower the cost the next time Lu Jingming called Yellow Springs, perhaps down to 80 million, saving huge amounts of true power. Lu Jingming couldn't predict which of his memory characters would be pulled in this Holy Grail war. There were countless possibilities. But once summoned, a record remained. It became a gotcha. Whether you pulled an SSR depended on luck, although he could rig things in favor of his people if they became chosen masters. Master selection itself would depend on the planet's luck. Those with more luck would be likelier to be chosen. This is a good plan. I'll help, the great merciful Tree King said. As the god of wisdom, her research power matched Herda's in many ways. The Holy Grail War was far more ingenious than the blunt corruption point method used in the parallel world. Servants condensed from negative energy, structured around Lu Jingming's memories, would have intelligence and recollection. Even false memories were better than mindless monsters that only killed. Most sentient servants wouldn't go on indiscriminate killing sprees, although some beings from Lu Jingming's memory were inherently destructive. Destruction lords who sought annihilation, Herrschers bent on destroying civilizations, even Honkai. If such entities were summoned, they would bring terrible devastation, because that's how they acted in his memories. If the god of fun hears about this, he might name you an emanator of elation, Herta said with a roll of her eyes. She suspected Lu Jingming's motives weren't purely altruistic. He liked the idea partly because it was entertaining and saved true power, and he loved the idea of pulling favored figures from his memories. Herta herself was eager too. If someone pulled Ruan Mei, she'd have a reason to ask Lu Jingming to summon her. She didn't expect he'd summon Screwlum or Steven. From what she knew of him, his heart belonged to his waifus. Ruan Mei fit the bill and would be easy enough. His other desires would be harder. Lu Jingming's true power was still limited. He had to be frugal. For now, he had Herta and Mobius and reserve candidates like Ruan Mei, Vilvi, and Screwlum to fall back on. Maybe one day, when true power was no longer a worry, he would indulge further. Chapter 223, Mobius and Miss Herta. It isn't hard to build a system that purifies negative energy and converts it into positive energy. I'll make one for you. Miss Herta was no ordinary person. At the mere mention of a negative energy conversion system, she immediately had a design in mind and put it together with astonishing speed. Right there before Lu Jingming, the great merciful Tree King, and Lady Ingen, she took out the Void Realm Treasury. Activating its understanding and reconstruction function, golden light gathered and a gilded holy grail floated up, slowly spinning and radiating a mysterious aura. Lu Jingming's eye twitched. He had to admit, geniuses like her defied logic. He had only voiced the need, and Miss Herta had already produced a solution. Giving her the Void Realm Treasury earlier had clearly been the right choice. Judging by the appearance of the grail, the materials were extraordinary. Without the treasury, he likely would have had to use his true power to achieve the same result. Miss Herta waved, and the golden grail drifted into Lu Jingming's hand. The moment he touched it, its functions unfolded in his mind. Using the grail as a medium and his memories as a card pool, he could sign a contract with a planetary will, select those fortunate enough to be blessed with luck as masters, and summon memory-formed beings made of negative energy. The Grail would stage a Holy Grail war across the entire Douluo Continent. The winner could directly claim the sea god's god position and its stigmata, ascending to divinity in one step, no separate god trial necessary. In effect, the Grail could create a god position itself. The war would act as the trial, and only those who endured to the end would reap the rewards. Defeated memory bodies would be absorbed into the Grail, activating the purification system to reverse convert negative energy into positive. That positive energy would feed the contracted Douluo star and help it grow stronger. As the planet strengthened, it would feed back to Lu Jingming, helping him further condense his own god position. The Grail would also accrue energy that could be used to forge a brand new god position. With the planetary will participating, the ocean's authority could be condensed as the sea god's god position. Lu Jingming had thought this through, down to the smallest detail. Sea god Tang San, unaware, had already been worked into his plan. Lu Jingming examined the Grail, then discussed its design with the great merciful Tree King and Lady Ingen, making several additions and modifications. The final artifact satisfied him. The completed Holy Grail was extraordinary. Given enough energy, it could grant wishes, within limits, and even create god positions. If one god position could be created, theoretically, a second could be made, and with time, the Douluo Continent could possess a treasure able to continuously form god positions. In theory, the number of divinities could even exceed that of the god realm, depending on how much burden Douluo Star could bear. God positions themselves existed inside stigmata space and didn't weigh directly on the planet, which helped, but the planet's capacity would still be a limiting factor. Excellent. Everything's ready. We just need the right moment, Lu Jingming said, turning the Grail in his hand, excitement flickering in his voice. The thought of an upcoming Holy Grail war thrilled him like pulling cards in a gacha game. He was curious how many would be blessed with luck and become masters, how many would be truly fortunate, and how many would be unfortunate. After all, the pool was his memories. He didn't even know exactly how many cards it contained or how powerful some of them might be. There could be some nearly as strong as divinities, while others might be too weak even to beat their own masters. It would all be down to luck, and Lu Jingming had no intention of rigging it. That would spoil the fun. Go, prepare your Holy Grail war. I'll handle things on the God Realm's side. Miss Ba, Herta said casually, as if stirring the God Realm were a trivial errand. Then I'll leave it to you. Lu Jingming trusted her without hesitation. Miss Herta's combination of brilliance and restraint made her reliable. Compared to Ruanmei's divinity, which had human traces, Miss Herta's humanity bore a touch of divinity. She was passionate about research, but she wasn't reckless. She'd abandoned an experiment to meet a stellar god for the sake of saving Welt and Sunday, and had rescued her homeland from existential threats multiple times. That moral integrity was why Lu Jingming had summoned her. By contrast, Mobius and Ruanmei were far more hazardous to summon. Lu Jingming was still too weak at that time to contain their extremes. He couldn't risk Ruanmei's unpredictable creativity or Mobius's dangerous intellect. Miss Herta required little oversight and never caused undue trouble. She was the safe, sensible choice. After settling matters in the God Realm, Lu Jingming, with the great merciful Tree King and Lady Zhen, planted the world tree on the planet and signed a contract with its will, using the absorption of planetary memories to help condense the ley lines. Once he departed, Miss Herta glanced toward a corner and said coolly, "He's gone. You can come out now." As expected of Miss Herta, "I really can't hide anything from you," a voice answered. Mobius emerged slowly from the Void Realm. Her snake-like eyes narrowed slightly, a trace of nervousness toward Miss Herta in them. Like Herta, she was a genius, but she admitted the other woman's talent outstripped her own. Neither she, Vilvi, nor Mai could match Miss Herta. Herta had saved entire civilizations multiple times, while they had been powerless against the trials of Honkai. Had the cocoon of finality not sealed the solar system, Mobius, May, and the others might have had a chance to turn toward the path of intellect and be noticed by Noose. But that was only a possibility. Miss Herta was a confirmed emanator of intellect, someone new had favored more than once. In the years of traveling with her, Mobius had come to understand Herta's depth and benefited from her vast, universe-spanning knowledge. "I want to crank up the trouble in the God Realm," Mobius said bluntly. "One king of pestilence won't be enough. He'll be suppressed sooner or later. He might not buy us as much time as we need." As she spoke, she produced a black gem. The moment it appeared, space around them wavered and gravity bent oddly. "You really aren't afraid of making things worse," Miss Herta said, eyes bright with understanding. "You're targeting that foolish dragon, aren't you?" Mobius's aim was obvious, the Golden Dragon King. The Golden and Silver Dragon Kings had split from the Dragon God, the supreme God King of this world, and the Golden Dragon King was a top-tier incarnation. Mobius wanted to study such a being, fused with the core of the Rock Hersher, who knew how much stronger he might become. The Silver Dragon King, by contrast, was now tied to Lu Jingming and could one day become his consort, so Mobius had refrained from touching her. The Golden Dragon King, however, fell outside her restraint. "Give it to me. This will be a good chance to observe the top-tier powers of this world," Miss Herta said, intrigued. Researchers could rarely refuse an interesting experiment, and Herta was no exception, so long as the procedure didn't cross certain lines. Mobius smiled. Miss Herta's curiosity would serve them both. Lu Jingming didn't know the two of them were quietly conspiring, and even if he did, he likely wouldn't mind. With the practical knowledge gained from the parallel world, Lu Jingming slipped into the planetary origin space and saw the planet's enormous light sphere, its consciousness. It was larger, more vigorous, and more agile than the planetary consciousness he remembered from the parallel world. It hadn't become fully sentient yet, but the day wasn't far off. If Lu Jingming had not appeared, that consciousness might already have been devoured by Tang Hao before it could develop sentience. Tang Hao had once crushed a planet's puppet when the planet's chosen child of luck proved weak and treacherous, taking away most of its luck and leaving the planetary mind unable to resist. Tang Hao, a god official without even a god position then, had consumed it. Chapter 2 or 24, The Golden Dragon King Breaks the Seal. Tang San's taming of Huo Yuhao, the child of luck, had never been just about gaining an obedient ally. It was a step in a plan that stretched into the 10,000-year future. From the moment he fixed his sights on Huo Yuhao, sea god Tang San set his scheme in motion. A sequence of interconnected moves meant to drain Douluo Star dry and, in time, replace its planetary consciousness and life core. To accomplish that, he needed to manipulate the planet's will itself. Facing Lu Jingming, an existence that had long helped Douluo Star grow stronger, the planetary will responded with unusual familiarity and intimacy. Lu Jingming had no desire for a close relationship with a sentient ball of light, so he plunged the Holy Grail directly into the planetary consciousness. With the planetary will's assistance, the Holy Grail's rules could naturally spread throughout Douluo Star. Once the Grail's presence became known, masters would arise of their own accord. Lu Jingming would not have to seek them out. Entering planetary origin space with divine sense was difficult even for Lu Jingming. He only managed with aid from the Great Merciful Tree King. Ordinary non-divinities could not even touch that space, and most divinities found it difficult. Only a first-class god position might have a chance. Divinities not born on the planet were actively repelled by the planetary will. Yet Lu Jingming signed a contract with the planetary will, planted his world tree, and wove the Holy Grail's rules into the planet. At the same time, turmoil erupted in the Douluo god realm. In the forbidden land of the gods, within a golden cocoon, a golden dragon lay in deep slumber. Abruptly, a black gem appeared out of nowhere and burst into a flood of Honkai energy that poured into the cocoon. Feeling the familiar fluctuations, the Golden Dragon King slowly opened his golden eyes and began to take in the power. Sealed and suppressed here, the Golden Dragon King had been accumulating energy for ages, but had never found a chance to break the seal and unleash havoc on the god realm. As the incarnation of destruction and chaos, that helplessness tormented him. The last time someone sent him a surge of Honkai energy, he had assaulted the seal and failed, but the attempt had given him hope. He did not know who was helping him from afar, nor did he care. He cared only to shatter the seal and rampage. So now he accepted the Honkai energy without hesitation, accelerating the fusion of the Hersher of Rock's core with his own essence. The more the fusion strengthened his appetite for destruction, the better. He was the embodiment of the Dragon God's dark intent, the controller of the Dragon God's destructive power. Greater madness only delighted him. The Hersher of Rock's core connected to the imaginary space of the universe, continuously drawing imaginary energy and converting it into Honkai to feed the Golden Dragon King. His power flared outward. In the Sea God Hall, Tang San pieced together information gathered during his preparations in the lower realm and noticed several anomalies. Huo Yuhao was evidently the child of luck. So why had Shrek Academy lost the Soul Master competition? Why had the Snow Empress, no longer under his control, become strong enough to kill Dragon God Douluo Muen and force Shrek Academy to hand over Huo Yuhao? Through Wang Donger, he learned that Huo Yuhao's personality had drastically changed. The boy had broken free of Tang San's influence and even consorted with evil soul masters. Huo Yuhao's luck was waning. Less luck meant less favor from the plane, an outcome Tang San could not accept. If Huo Yuhao failed to ascend to the god realm with ample planar luck, Tang San's long game would collapse. Putting the pieces together, the sea god locked onto Lu Jingming as the likely source of the disruption. Tang San had been watching Douluo Continent closely and only now discovered Lu Jingming's existence. The man had hidden himself thoroughly. Tang San's certainty that Huo Yuhao was the child of luck did not waver, but Lu Jingming's actions were stranger still, seemingly more heaven-defying and more smoothly executed. Even the Emperor Rui Beast had abandoned Huo Yuhao for Lu Jingming. Was there more than one child of luck? Had the Douluo Star somehow chosen two, one obvious and one secret? Whatever the case, Tang San adjusted his plans. Huo Yuhao had already slipped from his control. The boy's diminishing luck worried him. He needed to ensure the scheme went forward. Reaching out, Tang San took a golden orb of light that held Tang Wutong's memories and divine sense. He opened a spatial passage and, through Wang Donger's divine sense clone, sent Tang Wutong's divine sense back to the lower realm to rejoin her true body. At that moment, the god realm shuddered as if struck by some titanic blow. "It's him again," Tang San muttered, springing up. The Golden Dragon King's influence on the seal was unmistakable. He did not hesitate. Transforming into a blue-golden streak of light, he sped toward the forbidden land of the gods. All at once, the god of destruction, who held the goddess of life, also turned his gaze toward the forbidden land. The goddess of life's countenance was troubled. Because of the tension between Sea God and the god of destruction, and Sea God's repeated warnings of a god realm crisis, she had performed multiple life divination rituals, mostly to no avail. But when the Golden Dragon King last assaulted the seal, she had divined again and finally read a dire omen, great misfortune on the horizon. "Xiaolu, don't worry," the god of destruction said. "No matter what comes, I will protect the god realm and you." He did not entirely trust Sea God's claims. He and the goddess of life were stronger than Sea God, and neither he nor the god of evil nor the goodness god had sensed an imminent threat. Only Sea God had. Still, now that the forbidden land trembled, the danger could not be ignored. From afar, the god of evil Jidong squinted at the forbidden land and felt the terrifying surging of dragon might. His expression turned shocked. "The seal in the forbidden land has been broken. How is this possible?" he exclaimed. Goodness god Lai Yan reacted with equal alarm and then grim resolve. "We must not let the Golden Dragon King escape the forbidden land. Countless divinities will die if he does." "Let's move," Jidong said. "I see Sea God has already rushed over. This time we must kill the Golden Dragon King." Beforehand, the previous god of evil and goodness god, anticipating such a contingency, had prepared a 5-in-1 super divine skill, the Three Realms Judgment Sword, specifically to counter the Golden Dragon King. With the 5 god kings united, they believed they could slay him. Even 3 of them together would be enough to grievously wound him. Jidong's confidence reflected that strategy. A dull, thunderous boom echoed from the forbidden land of the gods. The central ceiling tower collapsed with a crash. The foundations shook, and the pillars of divine force that had bound the Golden Dragon King began to sway. From the fallen center, a crack spread like lightning, extending 100 kilometers in moments. Dazzling golden light shot into the sky along the fissure, visible across the god realm. "Alas, what troubled times," Emotion God Rong Nianbing said, shaking his head. He had planned to retire and stop meddling, but his family still resided in the god realm, and his god position had not yet been passed on. To protect both, he had no choice but to act. He had once discovered a promising child while assisting Sea God to oversee Douluo Continent, and had almost plucked him away from Sea God's notice. But that child had later gone astray. Though that child had the potential to inherit his god position, he no longer recognized him. From the widening crack, a massive claw burst forth and hooked onto the cliff's edge. The stone itself showed a deep, claw-shaped indentation beneath the grip. The golden dragon claw was hundreds of meters long. Each knuckle was thick and armored, dotted with circular protrusions like embedded gems and etched with spiraling golden patterns. Another muffled boom followed as a second claw latched on. With both claws pulling, the earth tore apart. A colossal golden dragon, tens of thousands of meters in length, heaved its head free and issued an earth-shattering roar. Its dragon might swept like a storm across the god realm, its roar scattering the clouds above. The golden dragon towered like a mountain, turning the forbidden land into a sea of gold. Each scale glittered magnificently, rhomboid plates with raised intersecting ridges, thick and razor-sharp. A single scale measured several meters across. The creature's sheer size was a testament to unimaginable power. By contrast, Guyuena, the Silver Dragon King, was small and inconsequential next to him. Chapter 225, Divine War. The Golden Dragon King unfurled colossal wings of gold, each spanning 10,000 meters, blotting out the sky above the forbidden land of the gods. Sharp spikes erupted along its crown and lower jaw, continuing in a serried ridge down its spine to the tail. Its massive, spiked tail swept with a casual motion, toppling mountains and cracking the earth. The remaining seal pillars were gone in an instant. The tail, like a gigantic spiked club, hinted at the devastation it would wreak on anything struck by it. Towering and cloud-piercing, it was the very incarnation of violence and annihilation. The dragon's ruby vertical pupils opened, blazing with ferocity and tyranny. Its presence alone twisted space-time. Golden light condensed along its scaled flanks until it formed a dazzling divine ring. A deep, satisfying roar rolled through heaven and earth as the Golden Dragon King beat its wings and rose, and each flap distorting gravity and wrenching the fabric of space. This was no ordinary plane. The God Realm's spatial integrity far exceeded common worlds, and the Golden Dragon King, if he did not restrain himself, could have shattered a plane the moment he descended. He was the ultimate emblem of destruction, one of the halves of the Dragon God, and the first wielder of the Law of Stone, or perhaps the Law of Stars, to appear in this universe. God grants me jade boots to tread upon gravity as a firm rock. As heaven and earth collapse, I am the king of destruction. For reasons even he did not fully understand, a voice filled with destructive craving issued from him the instant the seal broke. Whether influenced by unseen forces or not, it did nothing to diminish the awe his presence inspired across the God Realm. His terrifying chi and blood force surged like waves, crushing the forbidden land of the gods. In physical might, he was peerless, the Dragon Clan's physical body power unmatched, and the Golden Dragon King its primal exemplar. Hearing him, the god of destruction's face darkened. If this beast claimed the title of King of Destruction, what then of him? The goddess of life stood with an expression of astonished disbelief. The seal on the forbidden land of the gods had been intact, reinforced even, yet now the Golden Dragon King had broken free without warning. Panic rippled through the gathered divinities. No matter what, we cannot let him leave the forbidden land of the gods. If he escapes, the God Realm will suffer gravely. Sea God Tang San, sea god trident in hand and clad in sea god divine armor, stared at the Golden Dragon King with a gravity that matched the threat. He had not witnessed the ancient battle with the Golden Dragon King, but he understood the terror this being represented, an existence surpassing even the god of destruction. He knew he could barely contend with the latter. Against the Golden Dragon King, the danger was incalculable. If they were careless today, it could mean catastrophe for the God Realm. They were not alone in their alarm. The god of destruction, the goddess of life, the god of evil, the god of goodness, the seven great sins gods, the seven great element gods, the god of emotion, the Asura sword sheath, the god of war, the phoenix god, and countless other divinities surged to surround the Golden Dragon King. Only those at Divine Rank 1, or with the combat power of Divine Rank 1, were entitled to intervene. That access was merely a ticket. The real core force here were the 5 God Kings, though the god of emotion also wielded God King level power. Roar! Fine! Come! I'll kill you all! Tear this God Realm apart! The dragon's scarlet pupils seethed with resentment and madness. Sealed for countless years, it had grown more deranged, more terrifying. Its aura of destruction made every divinity tremble, a chill settling in their hearts. The ancient god kings who had once helped bind it, the god of destruction and the goddess of life, exchanged grim looks. This Golden Dragon King now far exceeded the level he had displayed in that long-ago conflict. With another roar, it flapped its wings and rent the surrounding space. The God Realm's fabric split. Universe storms poured through the rifts and surged like ravenous beasts. The goddess of life acted instantly. A colossal illusion of the Tree of Life spread across the sky, releasing emerald life force that wrapped the God Realm in protection. Act now. We cannot allow him free reign, not if we hope to save the God Realm. The Golden Dragon King's destructive potential was simply too great. Left unchecked, he could, over time, raise the entire realm. Sea God Tang San had no hesitation. He raised the Sea God Trident, spiritual force roaring as he unleashed the Golden 13 Tridents. The god of destruction, setting aside any petty animosities with Tang San, drew his divine artifact, the Destruction Scepter. A black, annihilating divine thunder, heavy with the scent of oblivion, condensed into a sky of lightning and struck at the dragon. The thunder scorched its golden scales, but could not pierce them. Simultaneously, the god of evil Ji Dong and the god of goodness Li Yan launched their attacks. Extreme Yang fire and extreme Yin fire erupted into twin pillars of black and white flame, surging toward the Golden Dragon King. As first-generation God Kings who had not left behind divine artifacts, Ji Dong and Li Yan, though God King level, were relatively weaker among their peers. The Golden Dragon King's scarlet eyes turned to them with particular interest. He remembered them, the primary forces involved in his sealing. He did recall Asura, but did not sense Asura's aura in the God realm. Instead, he detected Asura-like power emanating from a woman braided like a scorpion. With a contemptuous disregard, he ignored the twin pillars and swung a dragon claw. The claw carried terrifying gravitational fluctuations. Dark, twisting gravity bent space as it passed, rendering reality chaotic along its path. Ji Dong and Li Yan's faces drained of color, and they retreated. They did not wish to be the first to test that blow. Sea God Tang San could not stand idly by while his juniors were endangered. He invoked Unfixed Storm, golden waves of light that momentarily stabilized the tearing space. The dragon's gravitation strike was restrained just long enough for evil and goodness to pull back, though the golden light quickly frayed under the pressure. The god of destruction snorted, displeasure hardening his features at being ignored. He compressed dense purple destruction force through the destruction scepter until a dark, thunderous sun swelled in the heavens, an annihilating sphere intent on reducing the Golden Dragon King to nothing. The dragon did not take it lightly this time. Golden radiance cloaked its form. Gravitational currents gathered into a titanic, inward-collapsing sphere of supergravity. The two forces met, the black destruction sun and the dragon's collapsing gravity, and at the point of contact, a mute, devastating shockwave raced outward. A dark halo spread from the collision point and swept across the god realm. The weaker divinities, divine officials, many divine rank 3 beings, even some divine rank 2s, were hurled from the sky. Only the master divine rank 1s could barely keep aloft beneath the aftershock. The forbidden land of the gods was transformed in an instant into a dark void. The immortal Qi, the land, its forests and mountains, all were annihilated into nothing by the clash of two god-king-level destructive forces. The god of destruction and the Golden Dragon King were both embodiments of extreme attack. Their collision literally excised a piece of the god realm, leaving a permanent, gaping missing corner in existence. If not for the goddess of life's timely intervention, invoking the divine artifact that was her true form, the ancient tree of life, the devastation might have been even greater. Under her protection, only the forbidden land of the gods was utterly destroyed. The wider god realm was spared total collapse. Lower divinities fell like rain under the shock. The forbidden land itself had become a wound in the realm. Sea God Tang San's face turned solemn as he watched the aftermath. He had long suspected the god of destruction's might, but seeing it unleashed, and the scale of devastation it could meet and still stand against, made the threat undeniable. He felt, with a cold clarity, the limits of his own power. No matter that he held 2 god positions, that his sea god position had been elevated to god king rank, and that his sea god trident had become a divine artifact. When it came to divine sense and combat experience, the god of destruction, born with the god realm itself, possessed depths Tang San had yet to plumb. The conclusion hardened into resolve. He had to acquire the luck of the Douluo Continent to further strengthen himself. Without it, even wielding the key to the god realm's core would not let him truly command this realm. If he could not match the power of destruction, he could never become the dominator of the god realm. That dream would remain forever out of reach. Chapter 226, Element Stripping Knife. Fortunately, Xiao Wu has already descended to the lower realm. I hope she can complete the task I gave her, Sea God Tang San thought with some relief. He knew this battle would be long. Golden Dragon King was no easy opponent. One day in the god realm equaled a year in the lower realm, and by the time this fight ended, a great deal of time could have passed below. His carefully laid plans might be in jeopardy. Fortunately, just before the Golden Dragon King broke the seal, Tang San had managed to send the real Tang Wutong back to the lower realm. Between that, the divine sense clone he left, and other contingencies, Tang San felt somewhat reassured. Still, they had to end this quickly. He looked at emotion god Rong Niambing and said gravely, "Brother Rong, it's time to show what you can really do." Tang San knew Rong Niambing's true strength. Superficially a first-rank divinity, Rong Nianbing, the neutral, food-loving emotion god whose cooking outshone even the food god, harbored power that shouldn't be underestimated. He could rival a god king. Rong Nianbing possessed one true divine artifact and 7 quasi-divine artifacts. When those 7 quasi-artifacts fused, their power exceeded every divine artifact in the god realm, including the Asura Blood Sword and the Destruction Scepter. With Rong Nianbing's unique fusion divine skill, he could unleash god-king level combat power. As a first-rank divinity, his true strength was greater than some individual god kings such as the god of evil Ji Dong or the goodness god Lian. Those two had their own trump cards. If they worked together, they were formidable. But Rong Nianbing's hidden power was real. Rong Nianbing rolled his eyes inwardly. He had always kept a low profile in the god realm, concealing his true strength, and yet Tang San, that crafty old fox, had seen through him. Still, he did not refuse Tang San's request. His teacher and wife were in the god realm. If the gods here fell, they could not survive long in the wide universe. He would not stand by and watch the Golden Dragon King destroy everything. A golden dragon burst from the void. Its massive claws shredded the air as it struck the god of destruction and sent him flying. The god of evil and the goodness god charged in again, while other divinities, overcoming fear, unleashed their divine skills at the Golden Dragon King. For a time, the heavens filled with divine might, force surged like a tide, and countless divine skills streaked through the air. Yet few attacks truly harmed the Golden Dragon King. With unparalleled strength, speed, and terrifying defenses, the Golden Dragon King stood like a colossal raid boss. Surrounded by the gods, it neither faltered nor showed fear. Its aura soared, and it dominated the battlefield. Its earth-shattering roar shook the entire god realm. This was the terrifying presence of a top-tier god king. In the universe, apart from the creator god, the god of heavenly punishment, and the dragon god, the Golden Dragon King had nearly reached its peak. With the core of a ruler, it could replenish divine force rapidly and manipulate gravity at will. Add to that the destructive power inherited from the dragon god, and it could contend with the entire Douluo god realm alone. If nothing changed, this battle would turn into a protracted war of attrition, a 1,000-day war. Individually, the 5 god kings might not match the Golden Dragon King, but together they could hold their ground. And with a first-ranked divinity like Rong Nianbing able to unleash god king level power, plus other first-ranked divinities assisting, they had leverage. Yet the Golden Dragon King's ruler's core could convert cosmic energy into destructive energy, supplying near-infinite reserves, while the god realm's central hub continuously replenished the god's divine force. The accumulated divine force of countless years, though not limitless, would be enough to sustain a long war. Neither side wanted a war of attrition. The gods especially could not afford it. The battlefield was their home. If the conflict dragged on, the god realm itself might fracture. Sea god Tang San, secretly coordinating with the god of destruction, the goddess of life, the god of evil, and the goodness god, planned to activate the contingency left by the previous god of evil and goodness, the Three Realms Judgment Sword, and try to kill the Golden Dragon King once and for all. The god of destruction agreed immediately. Facing a common enemy, there was no reason to refuse such a fusion divine artifact. Before they could use this skill, Tang San needed to change his god position. The 5-in-1 divine artifact required the 5 god kings, Asura, goodness, evil, life, and destruction, and did not include the sea god. While the god of destruction and the others pinned the Golden Dragon King down, Tang San moved quickly to Xiao Wu's side. Xiao Wu understood instantly and without hesitation swapped god positions with him. Blood red and sea blue lights intertwined and flashed. Tang San's long blue hair faded to snow white and his sea god divine armor vanished, replaced by blood red Asura divine armor. The trident in his hand transformed into the Asura blood sword. Xiao Wu also changed dramatically. Inheriting the sea god position, her black hair turned sea blue and her aura deepened like the ocean, elevating her to first-rank divinity. She could not reach god king level. She was not Tang San, but she could certainly fight as a first-rank divinity. Now in his Asura god form, Tang San rejoined the god kings. He swung the Asura blood sword and a brilliant blood-colored blade of light struck the Golden Dragon King, carving a 100-meter wound. Scales shattered, dragon blood fell like rain, and the ground was gouged. For a 10,000-meter-long dragon, that wound was minor, and it began to heal visibly. Dragons had astonishing recovery. But when the Golden Dragon King saw Tang San transformed into the Asura god, its pupils constricted and painful memories surged through its mind. Though the person had changed, the aura was unmistakable. The Asura god who had once split the dragon god. Its hatred of the Asura god far exceeded its grievance with the goodness god or the god of evil. Abandoning their pursuit, it lunged at Tang San with blinding fury and hatred. Emotion, God Rongniembing's gaze flicked to the 7 figures behind him, 5 men and 2 women. They were the 7 great elemental gods, neutral like Rongniembing and closely bonded, the goddesses of light and water, the gods of fire, wind, earth, darkness, and space. Everyone, lend me your power. Rongniembing had always excelled at manipulating elemental forces. Since ascending to the god realm, he had grown close to the elemental gods, and together they had forged a fusion divine artifact. Now he called on them to assist. They did not hesitate. Each struck out a palm, channeling their elemental divine force to Rongniembing. He did not use his own divine artifact, nor the 7 quasi-divine artifacts. Instead, he pooled the power of the 7 elemental gods with his own, combining the divine force of 8 first-rank divinities to unleash a god-king-level divine artifact against the Golden Dragon King. As 7-colored light gathered, a majestic elemental force condensed in Rongniembing's hand into a 7-hued divine blade, radiating blinding brilliance. Elemental separation blade, Rongniembing cried, lifting the multicolored blade. Wherever its light passed, elements and their associated concepts were forcibly stripped away. Whatever was struck would be temporarily deprived of the powers they controlled. The Golden Dragon King sensed the threat immediately. Dangerous light flared in its crimson pupils. Black gravitational waves coalesced in its maw, preparing a devastating ultra-gravity cannon. But sea god Tang San and the god of destruction, among others, were no ordinary opponents. They felt the weight of Rongniembing's strike and acted to disrupt the Dragon King's attack. The Asura Bloodsword and the Destruction Scepter unleashed massive divine force. Purple and blood-red beams struck like lightning, interrupting the Golden Dragon King's cannon. Then the 7-colored blades slammed into the dragon's colossal body. The Golden Dragon King's body was extraordinarily tough and vast. Its defense was phenomenal. Ordinary god kings could not easily inflict grievous harm. But precisely because it was so massive, it also presented a conspicuous target. Dodging was difficult when the attack had such reach and inevitability. Chapter 227, 3 Realms Judgment Sword. When the elemental separation blade, Rongniembing fused with the 7 elemental gods into a single supreme divine skill, struck the Golden Dragon King, its once dazzling golden radiance instantaneously dimmed. The terrifying gravity that had been warping the Void Realm vanished. Its abilities to annihilate and manipulate gravity were temporarily stripped away, and even its thoughts were wiped clean. The murderous intent that had filled its mind evaporated, leaving a blank, stunned beast. Now strike! Tang San roared. The goddess of life, the god of destruction, the god of evil, and the god of goodness appeared at his side. 5 pillars of divine force, black, white, red, purple, and green, shot into the sky and merged into a colossal sword radiating prismatic light. The aura from that blade surpassed God King level, reaching the supreme God King level once held by the dragon god. Moreover, this attack had been specially fashioned by the former gods of goodness and evil to counter the Golden Dragon King, an attack tailored for this moment. The Golden Dragon King recovered from the elemental separation blade, but it was already too late. The 3 Realms Judgment Sword had formed and locked onto him. The dragon sensed the terrifying power within it, as if recognizing a natural nemesis. Frantically, he beat his great wings, fleeing at 3rd universe speed. Had his gravity power not been sealed, he could have warped space and escaped the God Realm entirely. Stripped of that ability, he relied only on raw speed. Shh! It's useless, Golden Dragon King. Today is your end. You shouldn't have broken the seal of the forbidden land of the gods. The God Realm and the universe will not tolerate you. Tang San's face was stone. The Judgment Sword transcended time and space. No matter how fast the Golden Dragon King fled, There was no escaping a move that had locked onto him across existence. The dragon, keenly aware he couldn't dodge, had to take the strike head-on. As the targeted enemy, he knew a direct hit might even extinguish any chance of rebirth. Desperation flared. With other abilities sealed, the Golden Dragon King poured out his chi and blood power, born of his own fearsome physique, burning his life in a last effort. The surge of vitality distorted the Void Realm and ignited a roaring flame of life. He finally broke through the elemental separation blade's seal. Destructive and gravity powers returned. "This is what you asked for. I'll make you pay." Pseudo-black hole. A pitch-black gravity wave erupted. The collapsing gravity concentrated into a small black dot above the God Realm, emitting a sucking force that devoured surrounding matter. The dot swelled rapidly into a black hole-like maw, abyssal and merciless. Continents trembled. Entire divinity palaces and mountains were dragged inward. Luckily, this was a God-King battlefield. Lesser god officials and small divinities had already fled. Otherwise, countless weaker beings would have been turned to cosmic dust. Though not a true celestial black hole, its essence was the same, the symbol of ultimate annihilation. If left unchecked, the God Realm would be seized by its gravity and slowly swallowed whole. The Golden Dragon King had no hope but this move to resist the Judgment Sword. Black hole? Impossible. That isn't his original power. The god of destruction's face went ashen. Even the Dragon God had never created a true black hole. How could the Golden Dragon King, a fragment of the Dragon God, wield such a force? The miniature black hole was nonetheless a consummate threat. "We can't let it keep expanding. Everyone, strike it with everything you've got," Tang San commanded. The pseudo-black hole had only just formed. The Three Realms Judgment Sword still had a chance to sever it. The god of destruction, the goddess of life, and the others surged their divine force. The five god kings harmonized, directing the great multicolored blade toward the abyss. "Fourth brother, what are you doing?" "Phoenix god, are you crazy?" "Fatty, stop!" "Third brother, be careful." "Sea god." At that moment, Ma Hongjun, the Phoenix god, who had been watching from the edge, suddenly flared with a strange red light in his eyes. His form became a streak of fiery brilliance, carrying heat that could ignite planets. In an instant, he reached Tang San's back, condensing flame hotter than a star's core, and struck Tang San full force with a backhand blow, his killing intent absolute. Every divinity's face changed. Ning Rongrong, Juju King, and others gasped. Tang San felt the lethal crisis at once. He never expected betrayal from his brother. Such a decisive attack left no room for mercy. But he was wholly integrated into the Three Realms Judgment Sword at that moment. He could neither retract nor restrain his power. A sneak attack at God King level without defense would be fatal. The five God Kings faced an impossible choice. If they halted the Judgment Sword to save Tang San, the black hole could expand and ravage the God Realm. Countless god officials and lesser divinities would die. If they continued the attack, Tang San, undefended, would likely be killed instantly. The god of destruction made his decision first. His eyes hardened. He would not abandon the God Realm for any one man. He would not hesitate to sacrifice himself. The goddess of life, though she felt the pull of Tang San's family ties, followed his lead. The god of destruction, and she poured every ounce of divine force into the blade. The god of evil and the god of goodness looked guilty, but they too could not falter. They had inherited their posts, and the duty to protect the God Realm rested on them. They too unleashed the Judgment Sword at full power. Tang San, still fused into the super divine skill, realized the choice his friends had made. For a moment, gloom flashed across his face. Then, with resolute calm, he increased his own divine force and shouted, "Don't worry about me. Saving the God Realm comes first." Hearing that, the god of evil and the god of goodness guilt deepened. The god of destruction's expression stiffened, and the goddess of life sighed. Tang San's sacrifice had won the respect of all present. Even the seven deadly sins, the god of destruction's lieutenants, now regarded Tang San anew. Neutral divinities, who had watched the conflict between the sea god and the god of destruction, also felt admiration for his selfless choice. It was no wonder the former gods of evil and goodness had once entrusted the core of the God Realm to him. The Three Realms Judgment Sword descended with full force, striking the pseudo-black hole. The five-colored blade pierced the gravity's bindings, sending a brilliant streak of multicolored light into the abyss. Light appearing inside the black maw meant the gravitational field had been broken. The pitch-black gravity wave ruptured, the pseudo-black hole detonated with a roar, and a catastrophic gravitational shock rolled over the god realm like a tidal wave. Space itself twisted and shattered. The god realm's fabric was torn open, exposing the cold cosmic void beyond, and chaos rippled through the realm. At that same instant, Ma Hongjun's star-bright strike reached Tang San's back. The blow was enough to kill a god king, but a sea-blue figure flashed forward and intercepted the attack, taking the full force to shield Tang San. The impact was like a stellar explosion. The blue-gold divine radiance shattered on contact. Ma Hongjun's full-power blow, overwhelming as a god king's, annihilated the defender's divine force on impact. The divine force shield shattered. Sea god Xiao Wu, her blue hair matted with blood, was blasted backward like a meteor at third universe speed, slammed straight into the core of the simulated black hole explosion, the ripped, chaotic heart of the spatial turbulence. Only Xiao Wu, who had never taken her eyes off Tang San, had the reflex to react to Ma Hongjun's sudden attack. Without hesitation, she threw herself forward to take the blow meant for Tang San. No, Xiao Wu, Tang San, normally composed and even able to feign calm before the divinities of the god realm, lost control. He charged madly into the distorted turbulence. The collision between the three realms' judgment sword and the simulated black hole had torn open an unprecedented maelstrom. Divine force, gravity, attraction, and spatial power braided and overlaid one another, making the center of the explosion an abyss of chaos. In that core area, where forces raged in every direction, not even a god king dared approach lightly. The Golden Dragon King lay bloodied, scales shattered. He had barely escaped with grievous injuries. And sea god Xiao Wu, who had taken a god king's full assault and then been hurled into the vortex, was in mortal peril. Her divine armor was ripped to tatters by the writhing forces. Her body was mercilessly swept away by the turbulence, and in an instant, her aura vanished from the god realm. Tang San shattered. His eyes reddened, and he swung the Asura blood sword with seething fury, sending streaks of bloody swordlight into the distortion as he clawed desperately for any trace of Xiao Wu. The sight silenced everyone. The sea god's devotion to Xiao Wu was well known among the divinities. Tang San's kind of love, absolute, unquestioning, was rare in the god realm. Many of the goddesses had long favored him for it, and at the same time envied Xiao Wu. Even the god of destruction, who often clashed with Tang San, could not deny the depth of Tang San's devotion. Despite his grievances, he admired it. Xiao Wu's chances were almost non-existent, virtually 1 in 10,000. In such a violent, unstable core, even a god king would likely perish. Xiao Wu was only a first-grade divinity. Phoenix god. Why? Why would you do this? The goddess of life, bewildered, joined the god of destruction, the god of evil, and the goodness god in surrounding Ma Hongjun. She had known Ma Hongjun since his ascension with the sea god. He'd lived quietly in his domain, a steadfast friend to Tang San's circle. He had no reason to betray them. And when had he become so powerful? The strike he had launched was comparable to a god king's, far beyond what a second-grade divinity should manage. As one of the god realm's 3 law enforcers, the goddess of life could sense that the phoenix god position still remained at second-grade status. For Ma Hongjun to unleash a god king-level attack was unfathomable. Daimubai and the others rushed in, faces stricken. "Fatty, are you crazy? What are you doing?" Daimubai's voice cracked. He was beside himself. Tang San, unable to cut through the turbulence, fixed Ma Hongjun with murderous intent. Swordlight condensed around him. This was a full-power God King strike, fueled by raw grief and rage. "Ma Hongjun!" Tang San roared, and a bloody swordlight tore toward him. Before it could reach Ma Hongjun, a golden armored arm shot out and crushed the blade light as if it were nothing. A young man in golden armor stood beside Ma Hongjun, golden hair bristling, blood-red vertical pupils, the Golden Dragon King in human form. "You finally decided to act, King of Pestilence. Let's destroy this god realm together." The Golden Dragon King laughed. His face was drawn. The explosion from the black hole and the judgment sword had gravely wounded him. He had shifted to human form to reduce the surface exposed to further strikes. The god of destruction's expression hardened. He had suspected collusion between the Golden Dragon King and the Phoenix God. Seeing them together confirmed it. Phoenix God, when did you conspire with the Golden Dragon King? Ma Hongjin met the stunned, accusing gazes of Dai Mubai, Ning Rongrong, Tang San's hate-filled eyes, and the assembled divinities. Calmly, he spoke, I am not the Phoenix God. Then, with a cold clarity, he added, God gave me a sharp sword. Immortal flames wrapped me. A spark turned a prairie into an inferno. I am the king of pestilence. Flames roared upward and then condensed, compressing into a terrifying new form. Ma Hongjin's torso was armored in dark red crystalline scales. Molten gold bones glittered at the joints. Dark, destructive energy leaked from the cracks. A miniature star, continuously emitting energy, pressed into his chest, its outer core bound by chain-like seals. His flame-like hair became flowing plasma. Dark red spiral horns erupted from his brow. His eyes melted into empty sockets, the hollows filled only with twin clusters of platinum flame. 4 twisted flame wings sprouted from his back, each beat of them distorting the surrounding space with blistering heat. He had become the Flame Hersher. Ha! Yes, King of Pestilence. Unleash everything. Let these divinities see the might of the Hershers. We are the true gods. The Golden Dragon King activated his Rock Hersher core. Dark golden light spilled over him. Gravity waves shrouded his form. He swelled to a compact, lethal 2.5 meters, encased in dark gold armor. Annular gravity well devices ringed his forearms and shins. His golden hair glittered like diamond dust. Spiral tungsten steel dragon horns crowned his brow. A translucent crystal mask veiled his face, with stardust leaking from the fractures. Suspended on his back was a gravitational crown of 7 miniature neutron stars linked by dense meteorite chains. The Golden Dragon King had become the Rock Hersher. The 2 Hershers, Flame and Stone, unleashed a might that met the assembled divinities in standoff. Someone is manipulating this from the shadows, using the Golden Dragon King and the Phoenix God, the goddess of life murmured, helpless. The Golden Dragon King's broken seal and his newfound gravity control, the Phoenix God's sudden defection and his God-King level power, despite being a second-grade divinity, everything pointed to a hidden hand. Whoever it was had bypassed the 5 God Kings and reached into the core of their power. The goddess of life could not fathom who possessed such means or why they would seek to sow chaos in the God realm through these 2. Fatty, what is this? How did you become? Are you even Ma Hongjin? Are you still our brother? Dai Mubai's voice was raw. He could not accept what Ma Hongjin had done. The idea that brothers would turn on each other was unbearable. He wanted the truth. Ma Hongjin, no longer Ma Hongjin in spirit, but the Hersher that had taken him, answered instead with burning certainty. The pain in my heart, the long-held resentment, the endless unwillingness, they were a spark that ignited the flames of destruction and forged me anew. I have never been so clear. I am the calamity of civilization. I will grant you all equal destruction. His old self had been consumed. The longing that had burned in him for Bai Chenxiang for years had curdled into rage under the erosion of time. He despised the cold, iron rules of the God realm, resented Tang San's inaction when he needed help, and loathed his own past weakness and insignificance. Those emotions braided into a single, roaring conviction to become the Flame Hersher and burn everything down. Chapter 229, Energy in a Black Hole. Is it still because of Bai Chenxiang? Ning Rongrong's face was mournful. They had once feared Ma Hongjin would be trapped by his feelings for Bai Chenxiang, and for years he had indeed suffered in secret, mourning and brooding, but never blaming others. Now it seemed that his resentment had only been deeply buried, so deep he hadn't even realized it himself. And that hidden bitterness toward Tang San had been enough for someone to exploit him. Everyone present now recognized that the Ma Hongjin before them was no longer the person they knew. He was no longer their 4th brother. He was not the Phoenix God they remembered. No need to say more. Xiao Wu is dead, and I will make you all pay. Tang San's eyes streamed with blood and tears. His love for Xiao Wu was absolute. When she had fallen into the spatial turbulence, a part of him had died with her. All thoughts of God realm authority, Douluo Continent's fate, and struggles for power vanished. In that instant, he had only one purpose: to kill Ma Hongjin and the Golden Dragon King and avenge Xiao Wu. Asura bloodsword! Tangsan shouted, hoisting the blood-red Asura demon sword. He ignited the Asura divine force in his bloodline. Blood-red flames wrapped him instantly. A streak of crimson sword light, as if trying to cut the god realm in two, shot at the Golden Dragon King and Ma Hongjun. Ha ha! Excellent! The Golden Dragon King bellowed, laughing madly as he pointed at a floating continent in the god realm. Gravity collapsed in an instant. The continent compressed into a miniature planet, and he detonated it violently. Boom! The compressed matter expanded in an instant, releasing world-shattering energy, the force of a dying star. That brimming stellar power collided with Tang San's blood-colored sword light. Act! Protect the god realm! The god of destruction barked, face grim. The Golden Dragon King had prepared in advance, making it impossible to unleash the Three Realms Judgment Sword again. With Ma Hongjun also wielding God-King level power, this battle threatened to descend into a protracted, calamitous war. The only silver lining was that the Golden Dragon King had been seriously wounded earlier in the core area when the Three Realms Judgment Sword met the pseudo-black hole. Destructive lightning, like an enraged dragon, tore through space toward the Golden Dragon King alongside the Asura sword light. Meanwhile, the God of Evil and the Goodness God focused on Ma Hongjun, flanking him from left and right. Blazing flames erupted around him, and their temperature climbed without limit. By manipulating molecular motion, given enough divine force and Honkai energy and the ability to withstand it, the flame's heat could, in theory, be raised without bound. In theory, he could ignite galaxies or even the universe. In practice, with his present state, that was impossible. But he could easily set a planet ablaze. The sun core level temperatures he could reach would incinerate everything, including local space. Ma Hongjun pushed his flame temperature to the extreme. Each punch and strike detonated with nuclear-like fury. In raw destructive force, he rivaled the Golden Dragon King, who crushed continental plates like toys. Fortunately, the god realm was vast, and the goddess of life had not joined the fight. She focused instead on shielding the god realm itself, preventing the battle's aftershocks from tearing the home of the gods apart. Other first-class gods threw themselves into dissipating the fallout as well. After all, this was their world, and even as Ma Hongjun and the Golden Dragon King unleashed continental collapses and solar flare-level attacks with disregard for the god realm's endurance, the higher gods worked to stave off total annihilation. In truth, those two Herrschers seemed intent on destroying the god realm outright. The greater the power they unleashed, the better. With the goddess of life protecting the realm, the god of destruction and Tang San jointly besieging the Golden Dragon King, and the god of evil and the goodness god encircling Ma Hongjun, the battle reached a tense stalemate. It was only when emotion god Rong Nianbing joined, wielding the divine artifact ghost-carving divine blade, that the tide began to turn in the god realm's favor. That's it. The stronger the chosen, the more authorities they can wield, and the more powerful they become as a Herrscher, Herta said with interest, watching the great clash from the Herta space station. Right, a Herrscher's authority has no real limit. The limit is the Herrscher themselves, Mobius replied. She understood Herrschers better than Herta. A Herrscher's authority was the ultimate embodiment of a physical law, a kind of godly force in the universe. In theory, every Herrscher could influence the rules of the universe, but only if they had the energy to back it up. Conservation of energy still applied. To manipulate universal laws, you needed an energy reserve comparable in scale. Talking about authority without considering actual energy was mere fantasy. Take the Snow Empress, a Herrscher of ice who had started as a demigod, or Huo Yuhao, who became a Herrscher of sentience, but had barely used his authority beyond mental effects. In contrast, Ma Hongjun and the Golden Dragon King had integrated their new authorities into their existing powers with frightening speed. Both already had high starting points. Ma Hongjun, though only a second-class god on paper, had years of accumulation and ferocious cultivation that pushed his combat power toward first-class levels. Fusing with the core of the Herrscher of Flame and gaining control over molecular motion had elevated his flames to match the ultimate Yang fire of the Goodness God and the ultimate Yin fire of the God of Evil. He had essentially entered the God-King domain. The Golden Dragon King, as the incarnation of the dragon god, naturally commanded the authority of destruction. Paired with the Herrscher of Rock's power, the synergy made 1 + 1 greater than 2. He rose to the top of the God King ranks, standing even against multiple God Kings. If not for the Three Realms Judgment Sword specifically countering him, he might never have been forced into a pseudo-black hole. Still, they were outnumbered. Time favored the gods. Fighting on home ground under the God Realm's blessings, the gods had the edge, and the two Herrschers' defeat was only a matter of time. "I admit I underestimated the God Realm," Mobius said. "The two Herrschers alone aren't enough to topple it." If she had not proposed releasing the Golden Dragon King and making him a Herrscher of Rock, Ma Hongjun alone probably could have only bought some time. But Lu Jingming needed only that window. In fact, by the time this battle in the God Realm concluded, his plans on the Douluo Continent would be nearly finished. While Mobius focused on the fight, Herta's attention landed on the place where the pseudo-black hole had exploded. When the Three Realms Judgment Sword sliced into the pseudo-black hole, Herta had detected a flash of equally powerful energy. A fluctuation that was so brief, it could have been missed by anyone who wasn't watching closely. That fluctuation lay inside the black hole. Black holes devour everything. Even light is decomposed and trapped. A powerful God King would last only a short time within one before being consumed. Yet Herta's readout showed living presences inside the black hole, and that was too intriguing to ignore. Herta acted. She projected a tendril of consciousness through the Herta space station into the residual crack left by the pseudo-black hole, tracing the energy signature. Inside the black hole, time and space unraveled. It was mostly a void. Even Herta's projection flickered like a poor signal. But she found something astonishing. 6 oddly shaped planets, each wrapped in potent divine force barriers, holding themselves against the black hole's pull. The most striking formation was a triangle on the left, 3 purplish-black planets tightly arrayed around a dark vortex in the center, a miniature black hole. The 3 planets pulsed slowly, orbiting that central void like a single, rigid mechanism. Beside them floated a cyan-green planet, the largest of the 6, its halo shimmering in and out and streaked with occasional golden electrical flashes. A white planet glowed with a soft halo and a sacred aura. Its surface was veiled in drifting mist that shimmered and suggested affinity. 2 other planets looked comparatively ordinary. The smallest, however, was the strangest. Tiny but resonant, it emitted a constant hum and a white halo, producing echoes within the black hole where none should exist. Together, those 6 worlds formed a ring formation. Their energies harmonized. Their combined barriers resisted the black hole's gravitational collapse. Herta realized with a thrill that these were not ordinary planets, but 6 separate god realms, each in itself akin to the Douluo god realm. How fascinating, Herta's projection registered, excitement clear in her tone. To find beings capable of resisting a black hole at all, it was astounding. Even if their survival was tenuous, their existence here was a wonder. Chapter 230, Blowing Up the Black Hole. Time rewound. The instant the Three Realms Judgment Sword sliced fiercely into the simulated black hole, the 6 great divine realms trapped inside felt an outside force intrude, briefly piercing the endless darkness and silence. Good heavens! That force is powerful enough to momentarily break a black hole's gravity. In the space speed star Scar God Realm, a white-haired young man in a white robe detected the intrusion with a jolt. Heavenly Emperor Tianhen needed any external variable he could get to improve the 6 great divine realms' chances of escape, and he quickly zeroed in on the source. At the same time, Light God King Changongwei of the Son of Light God Realm, Mad God Lakexiang of the Mad God Realm, Death God Adai of the Kind Death God Realm, Immortal Emperor Hailong of the Only I Am Immortal God Realm, and Qin Emperor Ye Yin-ju of the Qin Emperor God Realm, the 6 great God Kings, all sensed the awesome power contained in the Three Realms Judgment Sword. Their divine senses left their realms and appeared inside the black hole, drawn to the fleeting, 5-colored sword light. Each of them showed a flash of regret. "I thought there might be new arrivals to the God Realm graveyard, but it was a false alarm," Immortal Emperor Hailong said with disappointment, though his voice was grave. He could tell the projection before them was not flesh, but some kind of outside information projection, technologically far beyond the usual divine sense clones, and yet it moved freely within the black hole. This power looks like a combined strike from 5 god kings, he continued. If we could enlist their help, our odds of getting out would improve immensely. Light God King Chang Gongwei, handsome and radiating a sacred aura, tried not to lose heart. Elder brother Chang Gong, don't be too discouraged. Even without outside help, we'll find a way. Heavenly Emperor Tianhen hurried in to steady them. The 6 great god kings had survived together in this black hole for so long that they trusted one another implicitly. Chang Gongwei had become the quiet core of their unity, upright, unambitious, and deeply trusted, even winning over the usually arrogant Hailong. Hundreds of god realms were caught in the space-time turbulence back then, Qin Emperor Ye Yinju said to lift their spirits. Now only the 6 of us remain. I believe we can break free. No need for reminders, Mad God Lei Xiang answered solemnly. We all have reasons to escape. No matter how great the hardship, I won't give up. Right. Everyone return to your own realms for now, Chang Gongwei said, shaking his head. Keeping divine sense active here consumes too much. Our god realm's energy is limited. With power of faith and mental energy cut off, every drain weakens our final chance. Even as god kings, their divine senses could not remain inside the black hole indefinitely. The divine stabilization formation Tianhen had erected was the only thing keeping them coherent at all. Every reserve mattered. Then Tianhen, who specialized in space, abruptly turned and focused on the black void. Qin Emperor Ye Yinju noticed the change and asked, "What is it?" "Over there, I think I see someone," Tianhen replied, hesitant. He wasn't certain. "Someone?" Hailong frowned. "No one else should survive in this black hole besides us. We haven't detected any new realms being swept in." Tianhen's reputation for mastery of spatial Dao and the formation he'd built made his companions trust him. "Interesting," Hailong muttered. "To last this long inside a black hole, your formation must have tricks." A clear female voice answered them, and an illusory projection shimmered into being. She wore a witch's hat, had an exquisite face, and was dressed in purple and black. It was Miss Herta. She regarded the 6 great god kings with amused curiosity. "Well, there really is someone here," she said. "Who are you?" Qin Emperor Ye Yinju, dressed in white, stepped forward. "Welcome to the God Realm Graveyard. I am Qin Emperor Ye Yinju. You can come in. Are you not like us?" Miss Herta didn't hesitate to praise them. "I just detected an abnormal energy fluctuation and came to investigate. I didn't expect a God Realm to still be persisting inside a black hole. That's impressive." Chang Gongwei gave a wry smile. "You flatter us. We're barely hanging on." Tianhen watched her closely. The projection wasn't a divine sense clone. It was only an information projection, yet it could enter and leave the black hole. In a place where data transmission should be impossible, Herta's presence made no sense. "May I ask your name?" he finally managed. "Call me Miss Herta. It's just a small trick," she said, placing a hand on her hip. Her eyes scanned them with genuine interest. "You're not simple either." Seeing the slump in their demeanor, Herta grasped that the 6 great divine realms were pooling power and waiting for the right moment to attempt escape. Chang Gongwei, representing the group, spoke plainly. "Miss Herta, you've seen our situation. It may be presumptuous, but we humbly ask for your help." "Help?" Herta raised an eyebrow. "I don't mind being charitable, but you're trusting me awfully quickly. We've never met." "We have no other choice," Chang Gongwei said frankly. "Either we take a gamble with less than a 30% chance, or we continue to wait for other variables that may never come. Time here is meaningless. We don't know how long has passed outside. An instant, 1,000 years, 10,000. We can't hold out much longer." Tianhen, as a technical god king, understood the magnitude of what Herta could do, to access the black hole from outside and project information inside. It was their only hope. With most of the hundreds of god realms lost, all they had left was this desperate plan. If Herta had even the slightest chance of opening a link to the outside, they had to take it. Chang Gongwei explained their entire plan and the divine stabilization formation in full detail. It was a risk. According to their idea, the 6 great divine realms would collide in a controlled way to simulate a Big Bang, generating chaos power by blowing up the black hole. They hoped the chaos released in that instant would be enough to shatter the black hole's constraints and let them escape. Herta listened, clapping her hands in admiration. "Interesting," she said. "Simulate a big bang inside a black hole to produce chaos power. That's audacious. In my world, I've never considered the possibility that destroying a black hole could yield such high-level energy. Chaos power is, by all accounts, only present at the birth of a universe. Even a wisp of it can elevate a first-level divinity to God King. Anything baptized by chaos energy can evolve." Heavenly Emperor Tianhen then walked them through the math and the grim likelihoods. "Theoretically feasible," he said, "but the success rate is low. To simulate the Big Bang, the 6 great divine realms must collide. Whether they survive those collisions and the ensuing explosion is largely a matter of luck. Whether the chaos power generated will be enough to break the black hole's hold is also a gamble." Tianhen's face was tight with a researcher's resignation. To have to rest their fate on chance was painful after so much precise calculation. Herta stepped forward, eyes bright. "This idea is brilliant," she declared. "Scientific progress needs daring experiments. You're a rare kind of genius." To conceive the lunatic idea of blowing up a black hole to escape it marked Tianhen as a madman, yet in a situation that had become utterly desperate, only such a desperate gamble remained. "How about this? I'll consider it, and I'll also think about how to help you escape the black hole." Miss Herta propped her chin on one hand and fell into thought. In truth, she had many ways to open a path out of a black hole. Use the Thousand Realm, the One Ride, mimic Eden's star with the Void Realm's myriad treasures, or even seize a small star in the universe and detonate it to blast the hole open. Any of those could create a passage for the 6 great divine realms trapped inside. Once a passage opened, with their own powers, they would likely be able to break free. Still, Miss Herta did not want to act on her own. Though she felt it wouldn't much matter, she also didn't want to interfere with Lu Jingming's plan. After all, Lu Jingming was the architect of the current upheaval in the God Realm. If the 6 great divine realms escaped into this star system, who knew what new variables would emerge? "All right, then we'll await your reply, Miss Herta." The 6 God Kings did not get a decisive answer, but for them it was enough. They had been trapped in the black hole for an unknown stretch of years. Waiting a little longer seemed trivial. Light God King Chang Gongwei pressed a hand to his chest and bowed deeply at Miss Herta's projection. "Until next time." Miss Herta inclined her head, the projection dissolved, and the light faded. Sigh. "I never thought I, immortal Emperor Hailong, would one day pin my hopes on a stranger." Hailong slung his golden staff over his shoulder, flicked back his hair, and said helplessly, "I can feel that Miss Herta means us no harm." Qin Emperor Ye Yinju smiled. Although no final answer had been given, the hope alone eased some of the pressure sitting on him. "She must be an extraordinary sage. Helping us escape the black hole could even be an experiment for her. She's unlikely to refuse." Heavenly Emperor Tianhen nodded. "Very well. Everyone, return and wait for news. Be fully prepared. Even if we receive help, we must be ready ourselves." Light God King Chang Gongwei answered gravely. "Understood." The God of Fury, the God of Death, and the others all nodded. They were warriors at heart. When it came to strategy and leadership, they deferred to the Light God King and the Heavenly Emperor. Their job now was to prepare and wait for the right moment to break out. So it was them. I didn't expect the Golden Dragon King's simulated black hole would connect to a real one. When Lu Jingming received Miss Herta's message, he quickly grasped the situation. The 6 great divine realms had been trapped in the black hole even earlier than the Douluo God Realm, who knew how many other God realms in the universe had shared that fate. He had once thought about releasing the God realms inside the black hole to reshape the world and siphon off massive true power. He hadn't expected Miss Herta to enter the black hole first and find the 6 great divine realms. If the 6 great divine realms were freed, the Golden Dragon King and Ma Hongjun, who had already been causing chaos in the God realm, would be suppressed further, and opening the black hole to release those realms would only add to the disorder. The God realm would be forced to deal with them and would have less time to focus on the Douluo Continent. The 6 great divine realms, having been trapped a long time, urgently needed to replenish their divine reserves, and replenishing divine force required the faith and Neonli, the mental energy of sentient beings. This star system sat in the Douluo God Realm's sphere of influence. Individually, the six great divine realms couldn't match the Douluo God Realm, but together they could threaten its position. A clash would be inevitable. Moreover, if Miss Herta helped them escape, they wouldn't refuse small requests in return. When he first arrived in this world, Lu Jingming had been cautious, wary of sea god Tangsan and the God Realm, acting with extreme care. But as time went on and he summoned more people, growing stronger himself, that apprehension faded. He started to act more boldly. Small things he once would not touch, like the ice and fire yin-yang well, he later dared take with Guyue's help. Offense had replaced defense. Instead of trying only to avoid trouble with Tangsan, he was now actively creating it. With Miss Herta and Mobius watching the God Realm and the new variable of the six great divine realms in play, Lu Jingming relaxed his vigilance. His main focus now was the coming Holy Grail War, the condensation of his god position, and the evolution of Douluo's star. Sea god Tangsan was tied up, the God Realm in chaos and unable to spare a clone. The Douluo Continent would finally be his stage to act freely. In the Tianhun Empire, a grand mountain range coiled through the clouds. Peaks pierced the heavens and an ancient castle loomed hidden in mist. The three characters, Clear Sky Sect, were carved on the plaque above the main gate. This was the Clear Sky Sect's secluded home, cloud deep, unknown place. Those characters had been personally chiseled by sea god Tangsan, who had advanced to godhood 10,000 years ago. Inside a chamber at the Clear Sky Sect, Wang Donger slowly opened her eyes. A flicker of bright, agile light passed across them, as if she had just awakened from a very long dream. She clutched her forehead as countless images cascaded through her mind, familiar yet strange, like watching a film with herself as the lead. Lu Jingming, she murmured, finding his image among the memories. White hair, red eyes, his face was the most striking of any boy she'd ever seen, even more so than her father's. His strength among the younger generation had left a deep impression. Huo Yu Hao, she whispered later, frowning. Why had she disguised herself as a boy before her memories were sealed? What purpose had that served? She always felt there was another version of herself far away that she couldn't reach. She couldn't connect the dots. Why had she been sent to Shrek Academy in male guise, and why had she hated spirit tools then? She had come to the Douluo Continent originally to play. The God Realm was boring and monotonous. Everything here had been new. Her curiosity made it impossible to reject new things like spirit tools. Unable to resolve those questions, Wang Donger stopped thinking about them. She climbed out of bed, dressed, and prepared to travel the Douluo Continent thoroughly. She had many memories of the place, but few felt personally connected to her. As the daughter of a god king, she had come to the Douluo Continent to relax, but now she had another task. Her father had instructed her to keep an eye on someone named Lu Jingming. She did not understand why her father, a god king, would care about a mortal from the lower realm. To her, everyone from the lower realm was a mortal. The weakest god official still had condensed divine sense, which to the lower realm standards equated to 100-level true god. Even without a god position, they could easily crush Limit Douluo and demigods. She pushed the door open and found two middle-aged men in gray standing outside. One had long blue hair that flowed over broad shoulders. His blue eyes, when they opened and closed, revealed an unusual, indescribable texture. The other was hulking, with short, bristling hair, a face hewn like stone, and a faint golden light in his brown-yellow eyes. Even the gray robes could not hide his powerful muscles. They were Nu Tian, the Clear Sky Sect Master, and Tai Tan, the Vice Sect Master, Wang Donger's Big Daddy and Second Daddy. Big Daddy, Second Daddy, what are you doing outside my room? She asked. Wang Donger, she said, recognizing them instantly as her mother's younger brothers and the two who had cared for her on the Douluo Continent. Donger, you. Nu Tian's expression twisted with complex emotion as he looked at the lively girl before him. While she was the same child, the melancholy that had once lingered in her eyes was gone. Even though she still called him and Taitan Big Daddy and Second Daddy, something felt unfamiliar. Big Daddy, I've recovered my memories. I'm Tang Wutong. You can call me Xiao Qi. Both Daddy and Mommy call me that. Wang Donger, no, Tang Wutong, put her hands on her hips and corrected him. The name Wang Donger had been given to her after her memories were sealed. Tang Wutong was her real name. That's right, you're not Donger, you're Xiao Qi. It's Big Daddy's fault. Big Daddy won't call you Donger anymore. Niu Tian forced a smile that was strained and bitter. Taitan clenched his fist so hard his whole body trembled. His eyes glimmered with a faint redness. Tang Wutong tilted her head at their reactions. Their intensity seemed odd, but she didn't dwell on it and went straight to the point. Big Daddy, Second Daddy, Father gave me a task to find a man named Lu Jingming. Can you help me? How should I approach him? Nobody asked you to look for Huo Yuhao anymore? Niu Tian held on to a sliver of hope, his eyes searching hers. Why would I look for him? When my memories were sealed before I might have liked him, but now that I've recovered who I really am, that doesn't count. Fine, Big Daddy can withdraw the reward for finding him. Tang Wutong waved her hand casually, speaking with cool detachment. Before recovering her true memories, she had indeed been attached to Huo Yuhao, but that feeling had vanished. The period when she was Wang Donger had made her temperament different from her real self. With her real personality, what the gods called the little demon girl, she could not have tolerated the discipline of Shrek Academy. At Tang Wutong's words, Niu Tian's hope wilted. The light in his eyes dimmed. He knew the Wang Donger he and Taitan had raised no longer existed and would never return. Chapter 232, The Black-Haired Woman. Tang Wutong's awakening had inevitably meant the end of Wang Donger. Maybe Wang Donger's fate had been sealed from the start. A sudden, nameless anger swelled in Niu Tian's chest. He had no outlet for it and felt utterly helpless. Should he blame Tang Wutong? But what had she done wrong? From Tang Wutong's point of view, she had simply had her memories unsealed and restored. Wang Donger had been herself during the time those memories were sealed. Everything that happened had been arranged long ago. Should he blame Tang San or Xiao Wu? Niu Tian had no answer. This was Tang San's family matter. He and Taitan had no real right to interfere. Their complaints changed nothing. They could only swallow their frustration. They watched Tang Wutong's light figure fade into the distance. Taitan, who had been holding his emotions in, finally broke the silence. His voice shook. Daming, Donger, she's really gone. When he'd faced Tang Wutong earlier, his feelings had been a tangled mess. He didn't know what to say or how to look at her. No, Niu Tian whispered, more to himself than anyone else. She won't come back, never. Niu Tian had been bracing for this, but when the truth landed, it hit like a hammer, sharp and breath-stealing. Tang Wutong had descended to the lower realm at 6. With her memories sealed, she became Wang Donger. Wang Donger had no recollection of anything before that age. In a way, that day had been Wang Donger's birthday. Niu Tian had always known Wang Donger would one day disappear and revert to Tang Wutong, but were they really the same person? He had always been unsure. Tang Wutong's coldness toward Huo Yuhao earlier had made that doubt a certainty. Tang Wutong was not Wang Donger. They shared memories, but not feelings. To Tang Wutong, Wang Donger's memories were a dream, beautiful, illusory. Once she woke up, everything changed. What was he thinking? Does Sister Xiao Wu know what he did? Taitan rumbled, trying to vent the hurt and indignation. Both he and Niu Tian had treated Wang Donger like a daughter. Their attachment ran deep. Now she had vanished overnight like smoke, leaving no trace, and they could do nothing but watch. They could not blame Tang Wutong. She was a victim too, the real daughter of Sister Xiao Wu, someone they ought to have protected. So they stood guard on the door, holding on to the last fragile hope that Tang Wutong would still be the same as Wang Donger. Reality had snatched that hope away with a cruel slap. Far to the west of the Sun Moon Empire lay the evil demon forest. At its center was the core area, the territory of the evil emperor, the second-ranked vicious beast among the 10 great predators. The core area was always sullen and foreboding. Few dared enter. Yet at that moment, Huo Yuhao was deep inside, cultivating. Though smaller and less storied than the Star Do Great Forest, the evil demon forest was nevertheless one of the top spirit beast forests on the Douluo Continent. Heaven and earth origin chi here was thick, a treasure trove for any spirit master. Even those whose innate spirit power was mediocre could accelerate their cultivation here. As the Holy Spirit cult's chosen saint, Huo Yuhao had been placed under rigorous training in the forest's core. He cultivated attentively, guarded by the third enshrined, Scarlet Douluo Fei Yan, the 97th level evil soul master super Douluo who had brought him to the cult. Because the evil emperor had an accord with the Holy Spirit cult, spirit beasts in the core would not attack cult disciples so long as the disciples did not strike first. Humans and spirit beasts in this pocket of the forest had maintained a tense but stable coexistence for years. When Huo Yuhao was meditating, a faint disturbance reached his keen mental perception. He snapped his eyes open, puzzled. The spatial fluctuation he had sensed was not like the tears left by a limit Douluo's teleportation. It resembled the opening of a plane channel, something far stranger. He broke his cultivation and moved toward the fluctuation at once. With Fei Yan shadowing him, he had no fear of danger. Between her escort and the forest's agreement with the cult, he was relatively safe. Tang Ya, reduced to a puppet, was also under the watch of the sixth enshrined, Scorpion Tiger, Duoluo Zhangpeng, another super Douluo. Soon Huo Yuhao reached the spot. A flash of white among the blood-stained grass caught his eye. Pushing aside the blades, he found a naked woman collapsed there, her body lacerated, blood soaking the ground. She lay unconscious, wounds bleeding profusely. Despite the damage, her figure was undeniably exquisite and mature. She radiated a dangerous beauty. The deeper shock for Huo Yuhao was the face. The black-haired woman looked strikingly like Wang Donger, the girl he had met in the simulated universe's Jedi survival competition. "She's dying," Fei Yan said, perched on the shoulder of a towering puppet with a parasol resting over her shoulder. She had been trailing them silently, curious about this stranger appearing inside the core area, alone, gravely wounded, and yet still alive. Huo Yuhao knelt and examined her. The injuries, at first glance, were fatal, but he detected a sophisticated, otherworldly power focused in her body, barely sustaining life. That power was almost exhausted. If they delayed, she would surely perish. He took off his outer coat and draped it over her, then lifted her carefully by the waist. Fei Yan looked at him with surprise. Huo Yuhao had seemed austere and detached up to now. She did not expect him to risk himself for a stranger. "You don't have to trouble yourself," she remarked. Huo Yuhao's voice was calm. "I don't think she's just a stranger." He felt a familiarity in the power that clung to her, one that did not belong naturally to the Douluo Continent. It echoed the force that had erupted from Wang Donger then. The same mysterious surge, the golden trident mark that had once wounded him in the simulated universe. The memory of that moment returned to him vividly, and with it, the certainty that this woman's power was connected to Wang Donger's in some way. Chapter 233, Holy Spirit Cult Headquarters. Having already felt the immense power hidden within Wang Donger, Huo Yuhao's eyes sharpened when a similar force radiated from the black-haired woman he carried. He stared at her as if he could peer through flesh and bone to the source of that power. Aside from Wang Donger's strength, Ilyasvil's divine sense had produced a likeness to this power as well, so Huo Yuhao was certain the woman was connected to a divinity. Otherwise, she could not possess a power so like theirs. "Shh, don't be ridiculous. It's just desire. Men are all the same." The third enshrinement, Fei Yan scoffed, her face full of disdain as she inspected the woman from head to toe. Despite the woman's battered state and scattered wounds, her beauty remained flawless, and she carried an air of nobility and maturity as if untouched by mundane affairs. To Fei Yan, Huo Yuhao's decision to carry the woman back must have been driven by attraction. Most men, in her view, were like that. Night lay over the evil demon forest like a black shroud. Ancient trees soared into the clouds, their branches interlaced and whispering in the wind, sounding almost mournful. Shadows swayed beneath the moonlight, tracing ghost-like patterns as a narrow path wound its way toward the forest's heart. Huo Yuhao walked that path with steady steps, the unconscious woman cradled in his arms. Silence wrapped the place like a heavy curtain, broken only by his footsteps ringing faintly, each echo sending small chills through him. At the path's end stood the Holy Spirit cult's hidden headquarters, an underground city that slumbered in darkness. The entrance was a stone arch carved with strange ancient patterns that time had not worn away. As Huo Yuhao stepped in, a cold breath rolled out from the depths, moist and musty, pricking the nostrils. Torches flickered along the walls, casting a dim yellow light that made the carved faces seem almost alive. Their grotesque features looked as though they might step free from the stone at any moment. Polished blue stone underfoot reflected the torchlight faintly, and each footfall echoed a long while in the quiet. The corridors were a maze, danger potentially hiding around every turn. Patrols of cult members passed occasionally, their gazes sharp and vigilant, sweeping every shadow for anomalies. When they saw Huo Yuhao, however, they bowed their heads respectfully and addressed him as Saint Your Highness. Even when they noticed the unfamiliar woman in his arms, they dared not ask questions. Such was the strict hierarchy and discipline of the Holy Spirit cult. The corridor ended at a vast underground palace. Gems studded the high dome, spilling a faint blue glow like water that washed the entire chamber. In the center, on an altar, a twisted statue of a divinity was enshrined, its base ringed with roaring flames that seemed alive, flickering and breathing oppression into the air. Around the altar, cult members performed a ritual, low chants and rhythmic drumming weaving together, filling the hall with a trance-like atmosphere. Each participant wore a solemn, expressionless face, eyes alight with fanatic devotion. On a high dais sat a middle-aged man in a dark gold robe, Zhongli Wu, the Holy Spirit cult leader. Long dark red hair framed his stern visage and sharp eyes. Beside him stood a black-haired woman of graceful bearing and captivating beauty, his wife, the cult's vice leader, evil phoenix Douluo Fengling. Yuhao, you're still young. Cultivation should be your priority, Zhongli Wu said coolly as Huo Yuhao entered with the woman. He had already been informed by the third enshrinement and showed little surprise, merely offering the reminder. Zhongli Wu held high expectations for Huo Yuhao, so much so that he planned to pass leadership to him one day, even willing to set aside Yan Feng, his long-prepared personal disciple. That he had once intended Yan Feng as successor showed how highly he regarded Huo Yuhao. It's not like that, leader. I just felt there was something unusual about her, so I saved her, Huo Yuhao replied, shaking his head. Zhongli Wu did not know of Huo Yuhao's physical limitation. How could he suspect the saint of coveting women? Only Grand Leader Ye Shishui and Grand Enshrinement Long Xiaoyao knew of Huo Yuhao's condition, and they had kept it tightly concealed. If word ever leaked, it would damage his prestige and ruin the plan to install him as the future cult leader. That's good, then. Her injuries are severe. Only Mother and Uncle Long might save her, Zhongli Wu said calmly, trusting Huo Yuhao not to let personal matters interfere with greater duties. Huo Yuhao had indeed planned to seek help from Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao. His recent conduct had impressed Zhongli Wu, ruthless efficiency, strategic brilliance, and formidable strength. Huo Yuhao had secured obedience from the younger generation of the cult and even bent the blue-silver Saint Tangya to his will. Such ability made him a natural candidate for succession. In the deepest, most restricted part of the headquarters lay the residence of Grand Enshrinement Ye Shishui, a place normally accessible only to Zhongli Wu and Fengling. Now Huo Yuhao and Tangya had been added to that list. The injuries are severe. We can heal her with our cult's secret method, but this power... Ye Shishui murmured, studying the black-haired woman on the stone platform. A strange light flashed in her eyes. Ye Shishui admired Huo Yuhao. He was Muen's disciple, wielded twin spirits, and had inherited the undead demiplane of a powerful being from another world. He was a naturally gifted evil soul master. If anyone on the Douluo Continent might approach the Tao of divinity, it could be him. Because of Muen, Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao had watched Huo Yuhao closely, and they looked down on Shrek Academy for abandoning the person Muen had fought to protect. Long Xiaoyao, known as the Dragon Douluo, stood tall and broad, white hair framing a stern face. This power is even stronger than spirit power. The only thing I can think of is divine force, he said, his voice grave and steady. Teacher, are you saying she's a divinity? Huo Yuhao's eyes narrowed. He had not expected the casually rescued woman to be connected to a divinity. She was, but she's now gravely wounded and has fallen to the Douluo Continent. Though her essence remains that of a divinity, Recovering to her peak will be as hard as ascending to heaven, Long Xiaoyao said solemnly. Even a crippled divinity was an unparalleled treasure, an opportunity to glimpse that exalted realm. Ye Shishui began the cult's secret method. A 10,000-year spirit beast was brought to the platform. With hand seals and muttered incantations, a powerful force flowed from her palms and enveloped the spirit beast. It howled as if something invisible was drawing out its life. Its vital essence streamed into the black-haired woman on the stone slab. A blood-red light wrapped her body, and her external wounds began to knit at a visible rate. The cult's method could extract the vitality of other beings for use in healing. It could not perform miracles like regrowing severed limbs, but it was effective for treating severe trauma. The 10,000-year spirit beast's life force, though not sufficient to mend the woman's deep internal damage, could repair her external injuries and keep her alive. After all, a stubborn divine force still clung to her, preventing death. Under normal circumstances, the life essence of a divinity should have healed her on its own. But a burning divine power raged within her body, and she had apparently fallen through spatial turbulence. Spatial forces churned inside her, conflicting with each other in a chaotic storm. That she remained alive at all bordered on miraculous. To restore her fully would require resources beyond the Douluo Continent's capacity. Perhaps, if the golden tree at Shrek Academy, teeming with powerful life force, were drained, she might be brought back to full strength, but even that was only a possibility. They remained inexperienced with the realm of a divinity and could only do so much. Chapter 234, Huo Yuhao unexpectedly gains a wife. Of course, Ye Shishui was by no means foolish. She knew that facing a half-crippled divinity, even if the other had been gravely wounded, she could not be certain of victory once the divinity recovered, let alone if she returned to full strength. So Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao kept their probing of the black-haired woman's divine force strictly cautious, performing only a rough exploration and avoiding any reckless moves. If they were careless and angered a divinity, the life-saving favor they had offered could instantly turn into an irreconcilable hatred with unimaginable consequences. Soon, the 10,000-year spirit beast beside them had its life force gradually drained, its body collapsing into a pile of white bones. At the same time, the black-haired woman on the stone slab slowly opened her eyes. Her brown eyes were cloudy with confusion and emptiness. Her gaze wandered as if she had lost her bearings. She turned her head slowly, scanning the unfamiliar surroundings with fear and unease. When her eyes landed on Huo Yuhao, Ye Shishui, and Long Xiaoyao, she asked in a slightly trembling voice, bewildered, "Where am I? Who am I? And who are you?" Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao exchanged glances, both showing unconcealed astonishment. Huo Yuhao, equally surprised, blurted out, "You don't remember who you are." The black-haired woman clutched her forehead, her brows knotted in deeper confusion. "I don't know," she murmured. "I don't remember anything. Do you know who I am?" "Your name is Xiaomei. He is your husband. We are your master and mistress. You were critically injured before. Your brain was affected, so you must have amnesia." Yeshishui's eyes narrowed, and she spoke those words after a quick calculation, disregarding the astonished looks of Long Xiaoyao and Huo Yuhao. The woman repeated them uncertainly. "My name is Xiaomei? I have amnesia? Are you really my husband?" Confusion clouded the black-haired woman's face as she stared helplessly at Huo Yuhao, like a lost lamb craving a source of reliance. Huo Yuhao's mouth twitched. He felt helpless. Under Ye Shishui's icy gaze and almost invisible pressure, he finally nodded slowly. Ye Shishui had clearly seized on the opportunity of the divinity's amnesia to gain advantage, deliberately deceiving her. Long Xiaoyao's eyes twitched, but he kept silent out of absolute loyalty to Ye Shishui. Whatever she wanted to do, he would follow without hesitation, even if it meant deceiving a divinity and risking their lives if she later regained her memory and lashed out. Ye Shishui was audacious enough to gamble with everyone's fate. This time, though, her gamble paid off. The black-haired woman actually believed her. She accepted that her name was Xiaomei and that Huo Yuhao was her husband. Ye Shishui's motive was clear: keep Xiaomei within the Holy Spirit cult. Force might provoke a devastating backlash from a divinity, and she could not be sure they could suppress her. Xiaomei's amnesia, fitted Ye Shishui's plans perfectly. Watching Xiaomei throw herself into Huo Yuhao's arms, Ye Shishui's eyes narrowed as she quickly began forming new plans. She needed to find a way to cure Huo Yuhao's hidden ailment, and soon. If this divinity could bear Huo Yuhao's child, that would be the best outcome. With Huo Yuhao's talent and the goddess's bloodline, who knew how powerful their child might become? The Holy Spirit cult's long-cherished ambition to rule the Douluo Continent might finally have a chance. With a child as a bond, by the time the goddess regained her memory, the deed might be done. Even a tiger would not harm its cub. Ye Shishui, a mother herself, believed this firmly. Having deceived Xiaomei, Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao could continue studying divinities. If one of them became a divinity before Xiaomei remembered, future reprisals would be far less worrying. And so, the young Huo Yuhao, still not 20, unexpectedly gained a goddess for a wife. Pfft! Lu Jingming couldn't hold back and spat out the red tea he was drinking. Haida calmly extended a finger, and a faint glow instantly blocked the spray. The two of them were watching the scene displayed in Haida's magic mirror, the sounds from it reaching their ears. Lu Jingming couldn't keep a straight face. Haida, who possessed the Thousand Realm, one ride, could not miss a subtle spatial anomaly. Not long ago, a rift had briefly opened, and Haida detected it immediately. The person who emerged from that rift, Haida recognized at once. It was Xiao Wu, who had been swept from a black hole rift in the God Realm after trying to block Ma Hongjun's sneak attack aimed at sea god Tang San. Haida had assumed Xiao Wu's fall into a black hole would mean annihilation. Only God King level powers could survive such an environment, and Xiao Wu clearly didn't have that. But luck had favored Xiao Wu. She had not fallen into a black hole, but had been carried by spatial turbulence to the Douluo Continent. Haida alerted Lu Jingming, and he watched the entire process. Huo Yuhao finding Xiao Wu and bringing her to the Holy Spirit cult's headquarters, and Ye Shishui's astonishing trick of convincing Xiao Wu to become Huo Yuhao's wife. Good heavens, the plot was absurd. The mother-in-law became the wife, and the would-be son-in-law became the husband. Lu Jingming didn't know where to begin complaining. He half suspected that Aha had sneaked over to cause trouble. Otherwise, how could such a coincidental, dramatic turn of events occur? Haida, I didn't summon Director Hua, nor did I call the other masked fools. Aha shouldn't have come through the internet cable, right? Lu Jingming looked at Haida with a teasing, doubtful expression. You know best, Haida replied calmly. And don't you enjoy watching the entertainment? Indeed, this is truly joyous. Lu Jingming grinned in malicious delight. He imagined Tang San stabilizing matters in the God Realm and then discovering Xiao Wu had married someone else, possibly Huo Yuhao, the very son-in-law he had been grooming. The thought of Tang San's reaction made Lu Jingming eager for the picture it would paint. The only regret was that Huo Yuhao suffered from that hidden ailment and was helpless on that front. Now, they could only see whether Ye Shishui and Long Xiaoyao could be more effective and find a solution. The entertainment's over. Are you ready? Haida rolled her eyes. She had no taste for this sort of thing. With a gentle wave of her jade hand, the image in Haida's magic mirror vanished. I've been ready a long time, just waiting for you to act. Lu Jingming snapped back into business. He took out the Holy Grail, carefully modified by him and the Great Merciful Tree King, and handed it to Haida. Only Haida had the power to properly embed the rules of the Holy Grail War and the Grail itself into a planet, thereby officially launching the Holy Grail War on this Douluo star. This war would not only choose a new sea god, it would also purify the negative energy that had accumulated on the planet. As Haida began to exert her power, the planet's will seemed to awaken. The rules of the Holy Grail War wove themselves into the world like invisible threads, and the Holy Grail cemented itself within the planet's core. At the same time, detailed information about the Holy Grail War conveyed itself in an indescribable way into the minds of every titled Douluo across the Douluo Continent. At Shrek Academy, when Xuanzi received the inexplicable message, his expression instantly turned grave. He immediately decided to convene a Sea God Pavilion meeting. You should all have received that message, right? The Holy Grail War. Its winner will inherit the Sea God position. In the main seat of the Sea God Pavilion, Xuanzi spoke quietly, his face serious. Elder Xuan, what exactly is going on? Is the sea god ancestor passing down his position? Yan Xiaojie's eyes gleamed with anticipation. It had been 10,000 years since anyone had achieved godhood on the Douluo Continent. The sudden appearance of a Holy Grail war, with the sea god throne as its prize, made him think of legendary godhood trials. Could this be the sea god's arrangement? I don't know. The golden tree gave no reaction, and the academy received no divine oracle from the sea god. Xuanzi shook his head slowly, troubled. Logically, Shrek Academy had always been the sea god's most devoted followers. If the sea god intended to pass down his position, why wouldn't the academy receive notice? Chapter 235, Poison Undying's Breakthrough. Regardless, Shrek Academy must take part in this Holy Grail war, Elder Song said, his expression grave. Whoever wins the sea god title will shape the direction of the whole continent. That's obvious. We must participate, Yan Xiaojie agreed, brows knitting. He knew better than most how much the rise of a god could alter the balance on the Douluo Continent. 10,000 years ago, it was precisely such divine intervention that overturned the old order. The masters for this Holy Grail war are chosen at random, he added. Who knows which one of our students will get that luck? Xuanzi's face hardened. Whoever becomes the master must have our full support. We can't let the sea god title fall into outside hands. His voice carried firm resolve. Everyone present understood the stakes. The sea god legacy was Shrek Academy's direct heritage. If another power claimed it, Shrek's standing across the continent would be gravely undermined, especially if the Sun Moon Empire gained it. They could not allow that to happen. News of the Holy Grail War swept through the world of spirit masters like a storm. The matter of the godly legacy, after 10,000 years, was a boulder thrown into a still lake, sending ripples of excitement through all corners of the spirit master community. Ambitious spirit masters dreamed of being the fortunate master, summoning a powerful servant, fighting through the war, and seizing the sea god legacy to become the new sea god. The promise of godhood, vast strength, unrivaled honor, and extended life had a magnetic pull on every cultivator. In the Sun Moon Empire, Crown Prince Shu Tianran was among the first to learn of the Holy Grail War. The outside world pitied him as a crippled, useless noble, but beneath that image was a cultivation genius. In his 30s, despite his lower body disability, he had pushed through to become a titled Douluo, no small feat. Much of it came from the Empire's resources and medicinal aid, but his purple flame extinguishing heaven dragon spirit was formidable in its own right, and his personal talent exceptional. If simply taking medicine made one a titled Douluo, the Sun Moon Empire would have long fielded an unstoppable army. Shu Tianran sat in his wheelchair, hand pressed to his forehead, eyes burning with ambition. For years he had tried every cure, but never regained a whole body. For a man, he thought, life's driving forces were power, wealth, and women. He had lost the last. So all his focus turned to power. Backed by the Empire's resources and a ruthless willingness to sacrifice alliances, he had clawed his way into the vortex of politics, preserving his position as crown prince despite the cost to those around him. Only he knew the price he had paid. If I become a divinity, my body will be restored, he murmured, eyes glittering. Unifying the Douluo continent will no longer be a dream. He wanted more than titles. He wanted a legacy. As a god, he would gain immortality, supreme honor, and a restored physical body, meaning descendants, and a future for the Sun Moon Empire beyond his own lifetime. This Holy Grail War was the once-in-a-thousand-years chance he had never allowed himself to imagine. He would not let it slip away. Across the border in the Star Luo Empire, Xu Jiawei stood atop the imperial city wall, eyes hard as he looked toward the Sun Moon Empire. He had long suspected the Sun Moon Empire's restless ambitions, an unseen serpent coiled in the dark. So he had kept White Tiger Duke and elite troops stationed at the border without a moment's laxity. 4,000 years earlier, they had defeated the Sun Moon Empire, but centuries had passed. The Sun Moon Empire had developed relentlessly while the three original Douluo kingdoms had grown stagnant. The balance between them was shifting. One bright spot was Haiyuan City. Its influence was growing. Kunyu Pavilion's commercial network reached across the Douluo continent, funneling wealth and resources into the city. With covert support, Haiyuan had recruited many low and mid-level spirit masters, training them into a force not to be underestimated. For the Star Crown lineage, Haiyuan City offered a safe harbor. Shujuju's dowry had made it a solid political foundation. The Holy Grail War was an unexpected variable, but Shujiaowei saw potential. The contest for godhood would pull every power into the fray, even reclusive sects. Chaos would follow, but so would opportunity, an opening to probe the Sun Moon Empire and, if possible, strike. He also had contingencies. If he couldn't win the Sea God title or take advantage of the chaos, he would anchor himself to Haiyuan City. One step back could be wisdom rather than shame. In the Tianhun Empire, at the body sect, a different scene unfolded, ominous and fierce. Thick, green, poisonous mists hung over the sky, turning the world a grim jade. Spirit power that had been suppressed erupted like a long dormant volcano. Green essence tore through some invisible limit, surging outward in a tidal wave. There was a deafening roar as a mountain peak at the sect's training grounds shattered into rubble, debris filling the air. Dark spatial rifts spiderwebbed through the void, as if the world itself struggled under the strain. "Ha ha! This old man has succeeded!" A figure cloaked in dark green spirit pressure shot into the sky like an arrow, solidly treading the void. Behind him, a spectral giant, slowly materializing, blanketed the sun. A towering phantom, 1,000 meters tall, exuded the kind of power that could lift mountains. "Godfather has broken through," Princess Vina of the Tianhun Empire cried, her face lit by surprise and excitement as she watched the figure roar in the void realm. Poison Undying's ascension to limit Douluo was a tremendous gain for the Tianhun Empire. In the turbulent times to come, this new strength provided a measure of protection. "Is this the force of a limit Douluo?" Poison Undying laughed, savoring the pressure radiating from him. "In one casual gesture, I could rend the void." Poison Undying basked in the euphoria of his breakthrough. The difference between level 98 and 99 was vast. A single level, but a chasm. He had reached it by condensing a second spirit core through homologous resonance, an already formidable route. Now, drunk on his newfound power, he wondered aloud whether a breakthrough via the complementary yin-yang method could even contend with a demigod. The Douluo Continent, so long simmering with undercurrents, was tilting toward open upheaval. With the Holy Grail War announced, and now Poison Undying's rise to limit Douluo, the continent's futures were suddenly less certain and more dangerous than ever. Chapter 236, Lan Fozi and the Demon Emperor. Recalling his time at Shrek Academy, Poison Undying still carried the mark of what he had seen there, the fall of dragon god Douluo Mu-En and the terrifying semi-divine power of the Snow Empress. The memory burned in him. Back at the body sect, he brooded over it day and night, had several revelations, and then sank into seclusion to push for a breakthrough. Perhaps the rules of the Douluo Continent were quietly shifting. Powerful figures were becoming less constrained, and with his long accumulation and solid foundation, Poison Undying finally broke through to become a limit Douluo at the pinnacle of the continent. Holy Grail War, he thought as soon as he emerged. My body sect cannot miss this. The Sea God seat is one we must fight for. No sooner had he finished secluding himself than the world will relayed news of the Holy Grail War. Green flames of ambition flared in his eyes. He hungered for the Sea God position. He had trembled before Snow Empress's semi-divinity. Even now, despite his breakthrough, the memory of her power left him with lingering fear. If a semi-divinity could dominate like that, what would a true divinity be capable of? Poison Undying felt awe and a fierce, greedy anticipation. He had the premonition that a divinity might appear in this era and that the old grandeur of the three-god war could return. In the Clear Sky sect, Mu Tian and Titan received the same news at almost the same moment. They exchanged a look of bafflement and disbelief. They had kept close contact with the god realm for ages, but they had never heard a whisper that Tang San intended to pass down the Sea God seat. What on earth was this sudden Holy Grail War? It made no sense. Both men had been present 10,000 years ago and knew the ways of god assessments. The arrangement before them did not match any known model of a god assessment. No divinity would hand down their divinity like this, and the sea god legacy of all things made it even more implausible. Niu Tian was sure Tang San would never voluntarily relinquish the sea god position. If Tang San ever chose an heir, Tang Wutong would be his first choice, or at least a future son-in-law, never an inexplicable, open contest. With contact to the god realm suddenly lost, Niu Tian felt a cold foreboding. The Douluo Continent might be slipping out of their control. Tang Wutong tilted her head, confused. She had seen her father only recently break through to the god level of the sea god's seat. Given his nature and the present situation, how could he suddenly plan to pass down his position? There had to be some hidden reason. At that moment, the golden trident mark on Tang Wutong's forehead faintly flickered. In her mental space, Tang San's divine sense clone, handsome, sea blue-haired, opened his eyes. He immediately swept the surroundings with perception, then frowned and tried to contact his main body. No response came. Under normal circumstances, a reply would mean the god realm was unharmed. Silence suggested Tang San was either incapacitated or extremely preoccupied. Did the god of destruction act? Is the main body fighting him? The clone thought, frowning deeply. Events had already spun out of his control. Huo Yuhao had slipped his grasp. He'd awakened Shaoqi prematurely to contact the true son of luck. That mistake still left room for correction. But this Holy Grail war, and the claim that Tang San intended to hand down the sea god legacy, he was absolutely certain he had never considered such a thing. Under the crushing pressure of the god of destruction, abandoning a divine seat would be like cutting off one's own limbs. He could not believe Tang San would be so foolish. The clone felt invisible hands manipulating the world and realized he had been dragged into someone else's scheme. He briefly considered the god of destruction, rigid, rule-abiding, unlikely to break protocol, then dismissed the thought. If not him, who was orchestrating this? All he could do was wait. For now, he would watch and see what the Holy Grail War's true purpose was and what secrets the so-called sea god legacy concealed. Far below, in the boundless ocean, something colossal moved. A whale of unimaginable size, nearly 1,000 meters long, glided through the depths. Its hide was etched with dark red, ominous patterns that radiated a dangerous, malevolent aura. As if answering a summons, it burst through the surface, shot into the sky like a living cannonball, and lightning erupted in its wake. The sea seemed to rupture into apocalypse. Bolts of silver fire danced like serpents across sky and water, turning the ocean into a thunderous hellscape. Uncounted marine creatures were blasted senseless by the charge and floated lifeless on the waves. Even the intelligent sea soul beasts fled at the predator aura of the deep-sea demon whale. Only the simplest creatures failed to perceive the coming death. Amid the storm of lightning, the gargantuan whale condensed and took human form. Dark red lightning braided itself around that shape like loyal guards, crackling and roaring. She was beautiful in a dangerous, predatory way, long dark red hair flowing like a waterfall, a voice sultry yet cold as she intoned the words of power. God bestows upon me a crown, guides lightning as my bow and arrow, shatters all things, king of conquest. Her name was Mobius. Power surged through her body with an intensity she had never known. A cruel, satisfied smile drew across her lips. She felt she was stronger now than her husband had been, he who had been brutally slain by sea god Tang San 10,000 years ago. She felt she was one step from the hallowed height of divinity. Memories of that broken past flashed through her. A happy family torn apart, her husband murdered, herself forced into flight with her daughter, hunted by sea soul beasts and barely surviving. That hatred had burned in her like an undying karmic fire for 10,000 years. So when a green-haired woman who resembled a serpent had come offering the means of revenge, Mobius had embraced the world serpent's promise without hesitation. She had wanted strength, vast, terrible strength, so that one day she could make Tang San pay. Nearby, a smaller deep-sea demon whale, scarcely over 200 meters long, surfaced and likewise reshaped into a human. She was a delicate girl with blue hair, a blue that seemed like the clearest ocean. Her eyes swept the sea surface, and sorrow flitted across her face. Innocent lives had been stripped of vitality by her mother's unleashed power. She looked at Mobius with pleading worry. "Mother, please don't go," she begged. "Why can't we just live quietly in the deep sea?" Blue Fosie's voice trembled with earnest fear. She did not want to follow her mother's path of hatred and slaughter. All she wanted was a peaceful life in the tranquil depths. But Mobius had been driven to devour sea soul beasts and cultivate relentlessly. A mysterious gem given to her by the green-haired woman had accelerated her progress. Lightning obeyed her will, her strength multiplied daily, and she soon eclipsed her husband's former power. Mobius had joined the World Serpent and risen to be its third throne, the so-called King of Conquest, single-mindedly plotting a return to the continent to exact vengeance on sea god Tang San. Now she had set her course. Mobius turned away from the ocean's depths and strode toward the surface world, and the Douluo Continent lay ahead as a target of her long-brewing, bitter revenge. Chapter 237, Devil's Spirit, Great White Shark Blue. Fosie's heart throbbed with worry. She knew, and felt it painfully, that hatred had twisted her mother's soul completely, driving her to madness and recklessness. She feared that her mother's endless thirst for slaughter would invite heavenly retribution, that condemnation would come, and that her mother would be lost to it, abandoning Blue Fosie to loneliness and helplessness. "Didn't I tell you not to follow? Are you not listening?" The Demon Emperor's expression turned ice cold when she saw her daughter trailing her. Even blinded by hatred, she could not bear the thought of Blue Fosie being dragged into this dangerous revenge. Her daughter wanted a quiet life. Let her hide peacefully in the deep sea, far from blood and strife, not be pulled into a world poisoned by hatred. Blue Fosie instinctively drew in her neck. She was still afraid of her mother's storms. That cold look could chill everything. Still, she summoned her courage and said stubbornly, "Mother, 10,000 years have passed. Don't continue to slaughter. You'll invite heavenly condemnation." "Heavenly condemnation? Ha! What a joke!" The Demon Emperor scoffed, eyes full of contempt. "This world is a place where the strong take from the weak. How did your father suffer?" He kept to himself, never encroaching on the Douluo Continent or humankind. Yet he was slain because that sea god Tang San coveted his spirit ring and spirit bone. Our deep-sea demon whale clan devours sea soul beasts the way wolves eat sheep and humans eat meat. It's natural. Where is the sin? She spoke with bitter, twisted conviction. The devil's spirit great white sharks have butchered countless sea soul beasts. Have they been condemned? Humans slaughter spirit beasts by the billions to take spirit rings. Have they been condemned? No, the world itself thrives by this balance. Besides, now that I command electromagnetism, I am the punishment of heaven. Why should I fear some phantom phrase called heavenly condemnation? Blue Fosie's face fell. Her mother refused to accept the idea of retribution. Her twisted reasoning even contained a kind of bitter logic that made it hard to argue. In every argument with her mother, Blue Fosie had never prevailed. Now, hatred had warped her mother's soul completely. The truest, most earnest counsel would likely fall on deaf ears, especially from a daughter who had lived hidden in the deep sea and seen little of the world. "Don't follow me. Go back and stay put." The Demon Emperor tossed the command coldly and turned toward the Douluo Continent without a backward glance. Mobius's information had said sea god Tang San was distracted and unable to supervise the Douluo Continent. At last, the Demon Emperor would no longer have to hide and live in fear. For 10,000 years, she had repressed her hatred because of the sea god's power, hiding with her daughter in the ocean's deepest reaches, quietly building strength and waiting for revenge. Now she felt the moment she'd waited millennia for had finally come. Blue Fosie watched her mother's retreating form with helplessness. She knew her mother's mind was made up, but as a daughter she could not stand by and watch her be swallowed by hatred and led toward eternal damnation. After a long pause, resolve hardened in her eyes. If she could not stop her mother, at least she could follow and try to save her when the time came, even at the cost of her own life. After all, her mother was the only relative she had left. Blue Fosie gave chase. Though she was a 10,000-year spirit beast, compared to the Demon Emperor, the gap was immense. Her speed lagged far behind. She had to rely on the trail of her mother's aura, a faint scent only she knew, and follow it as best she could. She knew she was powerless to halt her mother's descent into evil, but she clung to the small hope that when punishment arrived, she might be there to save her. Far to the east, in the Demon Shark Sea area, the domain of the devil spirit great white shark, and the most fertile waters near the Douluo Continent, A slender, silver-white young devil spirit great white shark slipped quietly out of the territory, running away once more. Humph, Mom is something else. I'm almost ready to break through to 10,000-year cultivation, and she still treats me like a child. A clear, bell-like voice rang over the waves. The small shark drew a dreamlike silver line on the shimmering surface as she swam. By Shushu, the princess of the devil spirit great white shark clan. She ran off again. Shushu! A massive, nearly 100-meter-long devil spirit great white shark rose slowly from the water. The aura it radiated was powerful and majestic. Affection softened its gaze as it watched the direction Shushu had taken. From its size and bearing, it was clearly male, a guardian figure whose cultivation far surpassed 10,000 years. Let her go. She won't be gone long, said another, larger figure from deeper in the sea. This shark carried a more ferocious, noble bearing. The princess worries us, yes. She's born a variant with that rare ice attribute, but she has no warrior spirit. She's curious about the world and utterly unsuitable for our clan. If she weren't the princess, she'd have been cast out long ago. The devil spirit great white shark clan prized bloodthirst and valor. Bai Shushu's curiosity and innocence made her an anomaly. Yet she was their princess. The clan's leaders tolerated her because of her status. Not long ago, the devil spirit great white shark clan had refused nothing to the sea god. Backed by the sea god, who had used them as mounts, the clan had eclipsed the other two ocean overlords, the deep-sea demon whale and the evil spirit orca, and claimed dominance over the waters near the Douluo Continent. Even 10,000-year sea soul beast clans kept their distance. None dared approach the demon shark sea area. It had been 10,000 years since the great battle when the devil spirit, great white shark king Bai, had fought alongside sea god Tang Tang San to defeat the evil spirit orca king and the deep-sea demon whale king. That victory had accelerated King's cultivation by leaps and bounds. Now, Bai was a genuine vicious beast whose strength rivaled the famed 10 great vicious beasts of the Douluo Continent, though the top 3 were still slightly beyond her. If sea soul beasts had been considered in that ranking, she would have been among the top 5. Since sea god Tang San's ascension, Sea God Island's glory had waned. To show loyalty and reverence, Bai had led her clan in building a magnificent sea god hall on the ocean floor of the demon shark domain. They worshipped devoutly and gathered the power of faith from countless sea soul beasts for the sea god. For 10,000 years, the devil spirit great white sharks had kept a close link to the sea god, but they had received no word regarding any great bestowal of the sea god's position, an omission that left King Bai uneasy. "It's good she's leaving now," one elder muttered. "I have a bad feeling. The so-called Holy Grail War and the sea god's position, something's off." As they spoke, the once clear sky darkened without warning. Thunderclouds rolled in, swallowing the heavens. Lightning seared like silver serpents, and thunder shook the world, pounding against King Bai's heart with each tremendous peal. That aura, King Bai's eyes narrowed. Deep-sea demon whale king? How can that be? I saw him killed by the sea god back then. The storm brought an ancient, oppressive aura, malice as old as the deep sea. It was unmistakable to King Bai, the unique presence of the deep-sea demon whale, once one of the 3 great overlords of the ocean. Though the demon whale had been defeated in that legendary battle, its aura now returned, dark and heavy, as if something thought dead had risen again. Chapter 238, Sea God's Clone. "Xiao Bai, run," shouted one of the other devil spirit great white sharks, a smaller 100,000-year cultivator and the husband of Bai, the devil spirit great white shark king. He had witnessed the terror of the deep-sea demon whale king 10,000 years ago. Now seeing a terrifying creature nearly 1,000 meters long steadily approaching, his intuition told him there was no chance. Even he and his wife together could not contend with this whale. It was far larger, far more powerful than the deep-sea demon whale king of old, who had turned his body into a divine form. 10,000 years ago, they had stood no hope against that foe. Against this one, they were utterly outclassed. Is he here for revenge? Bai did not show panic. She ignored her husband's plea to flee. On this open sea, evading a deep-sea demon whale's pursuit was practically impossible. Instead, she decisively released her unique devil spirit light wave, an urgent summons to her clan. Her call, sharp and penetrating, cut through the water and drew in every devil spirit great white shark in the demon shark sea area. In moments, countless shapes streaked through the seawater. Thousands of devil spirit great white sharks converged from all directions. Each boasted cultivations of over 10,000 years, and among them were several leaders whose cultivation reached 100,000. The Demon Soul Great White Shark clan had mobilized nearly all its elites to face this threat. "We can't leave. His divine sense has locked onto me," Bai said grimly. "But there's the Sea God Hall beneath us. We still have a chance." As the strongest cultivator in her clan, Bai felt the divine sense piercing toward her. A deep-sea demon whale with divine sense and a body approaching divine-level power, likely close to a level 100 true god, was an enemy of terrifying might. Their only hope lay in the Sea God Hall, the shrine they had sustained for generations. If they could channel the sea god's divine force from it, they might stand a chance. Over the years, they had faithfully gathered power of faith from sea soul beasts, and the sea god's protection had never been lost. Without that protection, there would be nowhere on the ocean to hide. The approaching whale's penultimate presence was a cold blade. The Demon Emperor's gaze swept toward the glowing Sea God Hall at the sea's floor. She felt the fluctuations of divine force, and her eyes filled with boundless resentment. Her glare fixed on Bai with a hard, murderous intent. It had been this clan and the sea god that had murdered her husband and devoured his whale pearl. The hatred in her voice rolled like thunder. "You all deserve to die." A purple-black radiance erupted from the Demon Emperor's colossal body and swept across the ocean with crushing force. She let loose an earth-shaking whale cry, and the skies answered as if the apocalypse had come. Thick lightning bolts were summoned and poured down in a furious onslaught. Under the Hersher of Thunder's potent augmentation, the Demon Emperor's command of storms and lightning reached utter mastery. Lightning's power magnified across the boundless sea, and the Demon Shark Sea area was soon engulfed in a savage electrical tempest. Countless marine creatures had no time to react and were struck lifeless by the ensuing shock. Where vibrant life had been, an oppressive silence almost immediately took hold. Despair Lightwave. At the critical moment, Bai rallied her clan and, without hesitation, unleashed their collective mental spirit ability. A silver-white light wave, sharp as a blade, shot outward and struck the Demon Emperor's enormous flank. The mental shock stalled the Demon Emperor for a heartbeat. She had already condensed divine sense, aided by the Hersher of Thunder, and was only a breath away from becoming a level 100 true god. The mental strike could at best slow her. The lightning raged unchecked. Dozens upon dozens of devil spirit great white sharks were instantly fried to charcoal. The acrid scent of burning filled the water. Watching her clan fall, Bai made a ruthless choice. She activated the Sea God Hall. Blue-gold divine light, brilliant as a falling meteor, erupted from the shrine and shot upward. The radiance spread outward, enveloping hundreds of kilometers of sea with the sea god's divine might. Any intelligent sea soul beast that sensed it instinctively fled. The Demon Shark Sea area had become an absolute danger zone. Approach now meant certain death. Bai Shushu, who had already withdrawn from the area, happened to glance back and saw the dazzling divine light. As the young princess of the Demon Soul Great White Shark clan, her heart nature remained naive, but she understood what that blue-gold glow meant. In her childhood, her mother had scolded her whenever she got near the Sea God Hall. Now the hall's power shot up like a beacon. Only in a dire emergency would her mother use it. Fear gripped her. She spun and raced back toward the fray. As the sea god's divine force concentrated, the previously placid ocean heaved and congealed. Columns of water surged together, forming a gargantuan figure thousands of meters tall. The water colossus raised a trident of deep sea blue, its visage strikingly like the sea god Tang San. Poised above the Demon Emperor, the towering avatar drove its trident down with thunderous force. It cleaved through the sky with a deafening sonic boom. Its strike was well beyond the capacity of a limit Douluo, powerful enough to sink a small island. The Demon Emperor bellowed in rage and expanded her deep-sea domain. Seawater twisted into a massive vortex, a seemingly impenetrable shield. But the trident's weight was world-shattering. It tore through space itself. shredding the vortex as if it were tissue, and smashed into the Demon Emperor. The impact produced an ear-splitting roar. Waves hundreds of meters high detonated outward. The sea quaked as if from a great earthquake. The Demon Emperor screamed and blood spurted from her maw, staining the water red. Her vast bulk, like a kite with a broken string, was slammed down toward the seabed. Did it work? Bai's face had gone ashen. Calling upon the sea god's divine force and manifesting the sea god's clone had drained too much. The source was not their own power, and each invocation exacted a terrible price. Watch out! Bai's husband, the one who had first sounded the alarm, perceived the new danger below the waves. Seeing something strike from the seabed, he slammed into Bai to shove her away. In that instant, a massive spear of lightning burst from the ocean floor and impaled him. The electricity raged through his body, tearing at tissues and meridians with merciless force. With a thunderous explosion, the seawater split open. The Demon Emperor, in her human-like form, shot upward from the bottom and rocketed toward a thundercloud gathering 10,000 meters overhead. She was a pitiful sight, blood still at the corners of her mouth, her face deathly pale. The sea god's blow had been grievous. It had severely wounded her, but she did not yield. Bai had expended the sea god's divine force. A second such strike would not come quickly. Gritting through pain, the Demon Emperor rose and spread her 5 fingers wide. Lightning screamed down in answer. Above her head, a purple-black sphere of electricity, several thousand meters across, condensed into being and began to draw more and more power. Chapter 239, Annihilation. The violet-black orb of lightning hung like a dark sun, radiating a killing chill. Bolts lashed out from it, slicing tiny cracks in the surrounding space. Bai, Demon Soul Great White Shark King, watched with despair as her husband lay before her, barely clinging to life. She forced her eyes upward to the destructive lightning sun above, then reluctantly glanced toward the direction Bai Shushu had fled. For a moment, a flicker of relief passed over her. She was glad she had let Bai Shushu go instead of dragging her back, as she usually would. Around her, the rest of the clan lay ruined. Bai understood with cold clarity that the Demon Soul Great White Shark clan was doomed. The sea god's clone had been used, yet Tang San, the sea god himself far away in the god realm, showed no reaction. That absence explained everything. When a sea god clone is summoned, the god's true form should feel it. The sea giant forged by the sea god's divine force should not remain motionless or bleed away its power if the sea god were attentive. Either Tang San was preoccupied elsewhere or he had abandoned them. Bai did not know which, and it no longer mattered. Their fate was sealed. To die under this power is your honor. Be destroyed, lightning welcome. The Demon Emperor's mad voice shook the heavens. She struck with brutal finality. The great lightning sun plunged toward the Demon Shark Sea area at supersonic speed and slammed into the surface. Lightning flared, seawater boiled off in clouds of white steam, and a cataclysmic explosion birthed a tsunami hundreds of meters high. Waves hurled outward with overwhelming force. The shock rippled across oceans, sending tremors as far as the coastal cities of the Sun Moon Empire and Haiyuan City. On the top floor of the Sea Cliff Villa in Haiyuan City, Lu Jingming stood silently, staring at the roiling sea. As the World Serpent's 6th throne, he kept track of new members. He was surprised that Mobius had found the Demon Emperor and brought her into the World Serpent, but he understood the consequences. The Demon Emperor's vengeful nature meant she would use newly gained power to settle old scores. Most immediately against the Sea God's Mount, the Demon Soul Great White Shark clan. In the original world line, after being swept away by space-time turbulence in the God realm, the Demon Emperor had returned and annihilated that clan. Now that she had access to intelligence shared among the World Serpent, she saw Tang San was otherwise engaged and seized the chance without hesitation. Lu Jingming watched all of this with detached calculation. He felt no personal tie to the Demon Soul Great White Shark clan and held no particular sympathy. Revenge was understandable. Annihilation of the clan, while brutal, was not his concern so long as the Demon Emperor remained loyal to the World Serpent. He had no moral objection to such acts when viewed as part of a wider power struggle. His enmity with Tang San was not moral, but positional, a Dao dispute. Tang San sought control, over Douluo Continent, over the God Realm, while Lu Jingming would never cede the initiative. Two paths to the summit could not coexist. He had long assumed one of them would have to fall, and he had no intention of being the loser. For him, opposing Tang San in every way was simply the Tao of obstruction. Beneath the surface of the Demon Shark Sea area, life was gone. Charred corpses littered the water where the clan had once hunted. At the heart of the devastation, Bai had absorbed the brunt of the attack. There wasn't even a body left. The once solemn sea god hall under the waves was razed to ruins. In the center of this vast, scarred sea gaped a deep abyss, a hole thousands of meters deep. The Demon Soul Great White Shark clan had been annihilated. The Demon Emperor herself was severely wounded. She did not linger. Dragging her battered body away, she left the area filled with death chi and fled. After an unknown interval, a silver-white streak cut across the water like an arrow. Bai Shushu. The Demon Soul Great White Shark Princess had hurried back. She froze when she saw the devastated sea, the corpses of her kin everywhere, as if time itself had stopped. "Father, mother!" Her cry rang over the waves, raw with panic. She swam frantically, searching for the parents she could no longer sense, closing on the abyss despite the danger. Fate offered no mercy. Guided by the faint, unique sensation of bloodline connection, Bai Shushu found a shark pearl glowing weakly in a coral reef. The pearl was her mother's, the Demon Soul Great White Shark King's life force and embodiment of her cultivation. For a devil spirit great white shark, a shark pearl was as crucial as a titled Douluo's soul core. The pearl flared, and a fragmented message flooded into Bai Shushu's mind. "Shushu, leave. She's back for revenge. Deep-sea demon whale." Though broken, the message was clear enough. Her father and mother were gone. The clan was gone. The deep-sea demon whale king had returned for vengeance, and her dying mother had commanded her to flee the sea. Bai Shushu collapsed inward with grief. Alone and too inexperienced, far from 10,000 years of growth, she was weak, a mutated species with worrying combat deficit. How could she survive this ocean now, let alone seek revenge against the deep-sea demon whale king? As despair closed in, a red mark suddenly bloomed on her body. A rush of alien information flooded her thoughts. Holy Grail, war, chosen one, master, servant, sea god, god position. The torrent of strange, complex images overwhelmed her. Reeling from fresh loss and shock, Bai Shushu's vision swam and then rolled upward. She fainted. Even unconscious, the ritual spurred by the Holy Grail would not wait. Recognizing no resistance from her, the Grail concluded the Chosen One consented and automatically began the summoning sequence. Chapter 240. Skirk. As the World Tree's earth veins drew out the negative energy of the world, a vast red summoning array slowly took shape beneath Bai Shushu, its eerie glow marking the start of the ritual. The Demon Shark Sea area had just witnessed a brutal clan annihilation, so the region's negative energy was unusually turbulent. The earth veins fed far more energy into the array than normal. Whoever was summoned by this ritual would be formidable, easily among the top-tier servants. Servants were all memory bodies copied from Lu Jingming's memory bank. Their innate strengths varied. Some had little to no combat ability, but the amount of negative energy channeled into the summoning could determine a servant's initial strength. They could also grow stronger afterward by absorbing more negative energy. Bai Shushu's luck was extraordinary. She had been chosen as a master in the wake of the Demon Shark Sea area's massacre, with corpses piled all around. The summoning array drew massive amounts of lingering negative energy and began to draw a card from the memory bank. A flash of dazzling golden light confirmed what everyone present would have expected. Bai Shushu had pulled a golden legend. Even though she was still unconscious and unaware of it, fortune had already smiled on her. The golden light faded, and a graceful figure materialized within the circle. She looked down at the unconscious girl without expression and murmured, "Is this my master? A little shark? Quite cute." When Bai Shushu blinked her eyes open, night had fallen across the world. She was no longer lying among the dead in the Demon Shark Sea area, but floating by a reef. A figure sat on the rock, staring up at the wide, starlit sky as if savoring the night itself. "You're awake. Do you need me to explain what happened?" Came a calm, exceptionally pleasant voice, like a celestial melody. It made Bai Shushu feel that even the famed singing of the Sea Princess clan paled in comparison. No, no need. Bai Shushu's voice was low and edged with sorrow. The Holy Grail had already implanted the necessary information into her mind. Someone had chosen her as a master. She had been dragged into the Holy Grail War, and she had successfully summoned a servant. The woman before her was that servant. Thinking of it, Bai Shushu suppressed the grief swelling inside her and studied her servant closely. This might be her only chance at vengeance. Skirk had slitted violet pupils, deep and unreadable, like darkness turning into a slow whirl. Her hair was a light lavender that fell to her knees in soft waves, the inner strands tinged faintly blue like stars in a dream. A butterfly-shaped crystal ornament glittered on her left ear. She wore a fitted white and black dress, clearly made for combat. Oddly, her limbs were a deep, intense blue, as if they weren't flesh, but something condensed from raw power, lending her an otherworldly air. Beautiful, noble, aloof. Those words spun through Bai Shushu's head, each seeming to fit the woman perfectly. "I am Skirk," the woman said calmly. "I am your servant. I will fight for you until the Holy Grail War ends." Skirk spoke with measured steadiness. She understood she was only a summoned memory body. Her original main body might belong to a character in a fantasy world and not exist in reality. But as the Holy Grail's rules went, if her master won the war, the servant could be reborn in the real world in her main body's form, moving from illusion into reality. For the master and the servant, winning the war would mean immense reward, power, titles, and, for the servant, a chance at true existence. "Can you help me take revenge?" Bai Shushu asked immediately. Revenge consumed her. She had no time for talk of the Holy Grail War. "One cannot bend fate without strength," Skirk replied quietly. "I won't do it for you. I will help you become strong and teach you how to fight. When you are strong enough, you can take revenge with your own hands." Bai Shushu's eyes dimmed at the indirect refusal. Skirk felt something shift inside her. The girl before her reminded her of someone she had once been, a survivor of clan annihilation, left alone and bitter. That echo of her own past softened Skirk, and she added, "But I can offer you another way. I don't even have 100,000 years of cultivation. I can't take human form yet. When will I be able to get revenge?" Bai Shushu's voice broke. She had never been skilled in combat. The growth of spirit beasts had always been slow. Compared to the deep-sea demon whale clan, who devoured to grow rapidly, her own progress crawled. If she did nothing, vengeance would drift further away with every passing day. Skirk lifted one hand and produced the shark pearl that had belonged to the demon soul Great White Shark King. "This pearl holds a vast reserve of energy and is highly compatible with you. Refine it, and you can break through the 100,000-year threshold and take human form." The pearl had lain with the pile of bodies. Skirk had picked it up when she was summoned, and through the Holy Grail, had learned the basics of this world and its spirit beasts. As the daughter of Bai Shushu was blood-linked to the pearl. For her, refining it would be comparatively easy, and it would mean more than any rare immortal herb. "But this is the only thing Mother left me," Bai Shushu cried. The pearl was her last tether to family and home. Skirk's tone softened. Summoned into the Demon Shark Sea area, she had witnessed the massacre and understood why the Great White Shark King would leave the pearl behind. In her dying moments, the king had thought only of the weak child who would be left alone in a cruel world. She had used her final strength to leave behind a single piece of power so her daughter could have a chance to survive and grow. Xiaobai's voice, preserved within the pearl, urged refinement as the best way to give Bai Shushu the chance to protect herself. Bai Shushu swallowed hard. She was not weak. Though every part of her ached at the thought of losing this last relic of her mother, she was practical. She would not let sentiment stand between her and the chance for vengeance. With resolve, she took the shark pearl and began to refine it. Because it came from her mother, it unfolded to her like an open door. The demon soul Great White Shark King's hundreds of thousands of years of spirit power streamed into Bai Shushu. A soft blue light wrapped around her, like a veil, and her original slender, silver-white shark form slowly faded. In its place, a small, delicate human girl emerged, long sky-blue hair pouring over her shoulders, a finely chiseled face, youth warmed by a beauty that promised to grow more breathtaking with time. In the moment she broke through the 100,000-year barrier, Bai Shushu chose to take human form. She knew spirit beasts grew slowly. To seek revenge within a practical time frame, she would have to live and train as a human, even if it meant giving up some of the raw power of a 10,000, or in this case, a 100,000-year creature. Skirk watched her transformation without surprise. "Very good," she said. "The Holy Grail War hasn't officially begun. You still have time to grow stronger. I will train you well." Bai Shushu straightened, feeling both the sting of loss and the steady warmth of purpose. With Skirk by her side and her mother's pearl now inside her, she had a path forward. She would grow strong, and then she would make those who had destroyed her family pay.